Chapter 1025, Diana Winston and the Light Flames. Chapter 1025, Diana Winston and the Light Flames. After commanding Stormwing to carry out the task of eliminating Victoria, Khaleesi departed from the Elon continent and arrived in her secluded pocket dimension. As she materialized within her castle, she made her way directly to her personal quarters. Khaleesi's room exuded an aura of warmth and comfort. Adorned with rich red curtains, a cozy bed, and an array of furnishings, it emanated a sense of luxury. Countless books, maps, and scrolls adorned the room, reflecting Khaleesi's thirst for knowledge and strategy. The soft glow of candlelight illuminated the space, casting a gentle, flickering ambience. Portraits of Khaleesi adorned one of the walls, capturing her commanding presence and enigmatic nature. Upon entering the room, Khaleesi securely closed the door behind her. Retrieving a dagger from her space ring, she made a small cut on her palm, allowing droplets of blood to fall. With her bleeding hand, she pressed her palm against the door. In response, intricate crimson runes illuminated on the surface, accompanied by a distinct clicking sound. Satisfied with the enhanced security, Khaleesi directed her attention toward one of the portraits hanging on the wall. Studying the portrait intently, Khaleesi shook her palm, causing droplets of blood to splatter upon it. As the crimson stains connected with the portrait, a gentle hum resonated from within. Suddenly, bright beams of light shot forth from the portrait's eyes, enveloping Khaleesi in their radiant glow. Within a blink of an eye, she vanished from the room, leaving behind only the illuminated portrait. Using the teleported in Khaleesi's room, she appeared in one of the special prisons of the Sky Hole. Stepping into this prison, which was an empty hall, Khaleesi's gaze fell upon a solitary glass cage occupying the center. Within the confines of the cage, a woman with flowing black hair sat in deep meditation. Her hair gracefully fluttered behind her, and a palpable aura of power radiated from her very being. Approaching the glass cage with measured steps, Khaleesi extended her hand to touch the cool surface. A mischievous smile tugged at the corner of her lips as she whispered, "Wake up, Harriet." After Diana revealed the shocking truth that the Dark Lord was her own son, the Sky Hall deemed her dangerous and locked her away in a specially designed cage. For an entire year, Diana had been confined within the cold, restrictive confines of the cage. Its purpose was twofold: to prevent her from accessing her powers and to isolate her from any human contact. Only Khaleesi, who harbored a deep-rooted hatred for the Dark Lord, would visit Diana, ensuring her captivity remained absolute. As Khaleesi stood before the glass cage, she observed Diana's weary expression. The once fierce and proud woman now appeared diminished, her spirit dampened by the prolonged imprisonment. Diana's powers, once formidable, were nullified by the cage's enchantments, leaving her defenseless and vulnerable. A mixture of pity and satisfaction flickered in Khaleesi's eyes as she regarded Diana. The woman who had given birth to the Dark Lord, the one who had caused so much chaos and destruction, was now reduced to a mere captive. For Khaleesi, this was both a form of justice and a means to further her own ambitions. As Khaleesi taunted Diana, she slowly opened her eyes, her gaze steady and resolute. Unfazed by Khaleesi's provocations, Diana refused to give her the satisfaction of seeing her beg for information about her family. She knew Khaleesi reveled in the power she held over her, but Diana was determined to maintain her composure. Khaleesi smirked, relishing in her role as the bearer of ominous news. "It is happening, Diana, or should I say Harriet Hunt," she taunted, emphasizing Diana's past identity. With a calm demeanor, Diana responded, "Your two sons are preparing to fight each other. There is nothing to stop them from killing each other. Especially Noah, he is pretty pissed off because of what the Dark Lord, his own brother, did." This chapter upload first at NWSB. C0M. Khaleesi snickered at Diana's words, reveling in the chaos that was about to unfold. "Dean might have swung his sword, but it was you and the Sky Hall who orchestrated Alicia's death. You could have stopped it, but you didn't," Diana accused. Khaleesi's laughter filled the air, a twisted symphony of malice. "Look at you, still blaming the Sky Hall, even after I've told you that your two sons are destined to clash. Diana remained steadfast, refusing to be swayed by Sales's manipulations. I know my sons, Salisi. They will not kill each other. But perhaps you should be more concerned for your own well-being. Noah may be forgiving, but my other son, the Dark Lord, is not known for his mercy. Enraged by Diana's calm composure, Salisi retrieved a crystal adorned with intricate runes. This crystal, a rare possession held only by a select few within the Sky Hall, granted Salisi control over Diana. Establishing a mental connection with the crystal, Salisi tightly clenched her fist, causing a specific rune to illuminate on the glass cage. The effect was immediate and agonizing. Diana growled in pain as the rune activated, triggering her pain receptors to overload. Waves of excruciating sensation coursed through her body, causing blood to trickle from her nose and eyes. Salisi, driven by her sadistic tendencies, intensified her grip on the crystal, prolonging Diana's torment. With each surge of energy she directed into the crystal, Diana's suffering escalated. The pain became unbearable, pushing Diana to her limits. However, realizing her time was limited, Salisi relented, willing the crystal to release its hold on Diana. The agony subsided, leaving Diana panting and weakened from the ordeal. As much as I love these little torture sessions, Salisi sneered, I am pressed for time. With Noah poised to fight the Dark Lord, it falls upon me to ensure Noah's victory and put an end to the Dark Lord's reign before it even begins. Sales's gaze bore into Diana's, a chilling intensity emanating from her eyes. To ensure Noah's success, I need the power of your light flames. We both know they rightfully belong to Noah, the god of light. Upon hearing Sales's request, Diana emitted a pained chuckle, spitting blood from her mouth. Sales's demand did not catch Diana off guard, for she knew that one day the Sky Hall or Salisi herself would come seeking her primordial flame, the light flames. However, Diana had no intention of surrendering her primordial flames to Salisi. With a resolute tone, Diana retorted, I have a better idea. Why don't you go fuck yourself? Sales's lips curled into a sinister smirk, seemingly unfazed by Diana's defiance. Is that how a proper lady speaks, Diana? It seems the Dark Lord has inherited his mother's traits. He truly is his mother's son. But, as I mentioned before, I find myself pressed for time. Hence, I have brought forth a little trump card that might persuade you to relinquish your light flames. With a swift flick of her wrist, Salisi conjured a mirror crafted from shimmering light. Within the mirror's surface, an unsettling scene unfolded. A battered and bruised man with a long beard, unkempt hair, and countless wounds appeared before Diana's eyes. Pools of blood formed beneath him as he lay unconscious in a dungeon adorned with various implements of torture, such as chains, barbed wire, and a collection of menacing daggers. The man, chained to a wall, seemed to be in a state of profound suffering. As Diana's gaze met the man's visage, her heart skipped a beat, a surge of anger and anguish piercing through her. The man was none other than Ethan, her beloved husband. As Diana's gaze shifted to the orc beside Ethan, her heart sank further. The orc stood tall and imposing, his hulking form exuding an aura of brutality. His muscular physique was covered in coarse, greenish skin, adorned with scars and markings earned from countless battles. His beady eyes glinted with a sadistic gleam, and his crooked tusks protruded menacingly from his lower jaw. Release the light flames, Salisi uttered with a chilling tone. Each time you refuse, my companion here, she pointed towards the orc, to carry out Sales's ruthless commands. Will delight in dismembering your husband, limb by agonizing limb. Sales's words hung in the air, their weight suffocating. The orc, known for his expertise in inflicting unimaginable pain, stood ready to carry out Sales's ruthless commands. Diana was stuck between tough dire choices once again. But while she was stuck in her thoughts, Salisi gave the command to the orc. Take his right arm, coldly said Salisi. Diana's heart sank as Sales's command was swiftly executed by the orc. The sound of Ethan's agonized screams pierced the air, reverberating through the desolate hole. Horror consumed Diana as she watched in despair as her husband's right arm was violently torn from his shoulder. Blood gushed from the wound, staining the surroundings with its crimson hue. "Now if you don't want your husband to lose the other arm, I'll recommend you to give me the light flames." The orc presented the severed arm to Salisi, a grim reminder of the barbarity Diana had witnessed. Sales's cold words cut through the air, leaving Diana with a harrowing ultimatum: surrender the light flames or risk her husband suffering further torment. "No." Diana's voice cracked with anguish, her plea desperate and filled with anguish. The sight of Ethan's suffering fueled her determination, yet she remained torn between protecting her precious power and saving her beloved spouse. Salisi nodded at the orc, worldly telling him to rip Ethan's other arm. However, before the orc could touch Ethan, Diana roared. "Stop it!" Diana screamed. Salisi observed Diana's agony and her reluctant submission with a twisted satisfaction. The orc halted, its hand frozen in midair, as Diana's desperate plea echoed through the prison's cold walls. "Stop hurting him. I'll give you the light flames." Reluctantly, Diana made a painful decision, her voice laden with a mixture of anger and despair. She agreed to surrender the light flames, knowing that it was the only way to spare Ethan from further suffering. With a heavy heart, she closed her eyes, allowing the deep connection to the light flames within her soul to surface. A radiant glow enveloped her body as the powerful essence of the light flames materialized in a dazzling display. Taking the form of a luminous star, the flames exuded a brilliant energy. Salisi, seizing the opportunity, clenched the crystal in her hand, triggering a rune that swiftly extracted the primordial light flames from Diana's being. In an instant, the flames were whisked away to the mortal realm, where they would seek their destined host, Noah Winston. That wasn't so hard, was it? Satisfied with her accomplishment, Salisi turned her back to leave the prison, her dark intentions evident. As she prepared to take her first step, Diana's words pierced the air with chilling determination. "Kill me now, Salisi. If you don't, I will get out of this cage. I will find you and I will kill you." "That is a promise." Diana's voice dripped with a cold resolve, her eyes radiating an intense and unyielding determination. Chapter 1026, Sabrina's plea to her brothers. Noah stood in awe as he gazed at the meticulously crafted armor before him. Its surface gleamed with a pristine white hue, reflecting the light in a mesmerizing manner. Intricate golden linings adorned every edge, accentuating the armor's regal appearance. Runes, delicately engraved, formed a pattern that seemed to dance across the surface, imbuing the armor with a mystical aura. Beside the armor, a pair of swords rested with lion heads adorning their hilts. The swords emanated a sense of power and elegance, their blades polished to a mirror-like sheen. The lion heads bore a fierce expression, a symbol of strength and courage. Andreas, Noah's trusted advisor, stepped forward, his eyes fixed on the magnificent armor. He began to unravel its origins and significance. "This armor," he began, his voice filled with reverence, "was crafted by the Hontorum dwarves. We both know that they were master artisans known for their exceptional craftsmanship." Andreas continued, "It is a pity they disbanded their clan due to the Dark Lord's impending threat. This armor, Noah, is one of their greatest creations. It is said to provide unparalleled protection and enhance the wearer's abilities." Noah's eyes widened with anticipation. He understood the gravity of the upcoming battle against the Dark Lord and the need for every advantage. "Teacher, this armor." "It is beautiful," Andreas nodded, a solemn expression crossing his face. "Yes, Noah, it is beautiful. But the armor is imbued with ancient enchantments, enhancing not only your defense but also your agility and strength. It will be a formidable asset in your quest to defeat the Dark Lord." Noah reached out, running his fingers over the intricate engravings on the armor. He could feel the power resonating within it. "Thank you, teacher." We need every advantage we can get, Noah declared, his voice filled with a newfound resolve. Andreas placed a hand on Noah's shoulder, his gaze reflecting unwavering loyalty. Remember, Noah, you are the hope of this realm. The fate of countless lives rests on your shoulders. This armor is but a tool to aid you in your noble cause. As Noah admired the intricate details of the Hontorum armor, little did he know that the man standing beside him was not the trustworthy mentor he had come to rely upon. This version of Andreas was merely an evil fragment of his soul, pretending to be his guide, subtly manipulating him to fulfill Sales's sinister agenda. Andreas, or rather the impostor, maintained a facade of unwavering loyalty, his voice filled with a deceptive warmth. Noah, this armor will undoubtedly be the key to your victory against the Dark Lord. Trust in its power and let it guide you in the upcoming battle. Noah, consumed by his determination to defeat his twin brother and bring an end to the Dark Lord's reign, eagerly accepted his words without suspicion. He believed in the bond he had forged with Andreas, unaware that it had been tainted by deceit. Together, they made plans, discussing strategies and tactics to confront the Dark Lord. Noah shared his deepest fears and vulnerabilities, trusting his mentor with his innermost thoughts. Little did he know that every word spoken in confidence was being relayed back to Salisi, the puppeteer pulling the strings. As the days passed, Noah continued to train relentlessly, honing his skills and donning the Hontorum armor, unaware that his every move was being scrutinized by the impostor beside him. The evil version of Andreas reveled in his role, gathering information and plotting his next move. In Noah's eyes, he saw only the reflection of the mentor he had grown to trust, but behind that facade lurked a darker intent. The impostor understood that as Noah's powers grew, so too did the threat he posed to the Dark Lord's reign. At the moment, Noah stood atop the serene mountain peak, surrounded by the breathtaking beauty of nature. The rising sun painted the sky with vibrant hues, while the distant ocean expanded endlessly, its waves crashing against the shoreline. The tranquil atmosphere provided a sense of peace and clarity, a much-needed respite from the impending battle that loomed ahead. Lost in his training, Noah suddenly noticed a figure gracefully soaring through the sky towards him. A smile spread across his face as he recognized the familiar form of his beloved younger sister, Sabrina. With a soft landing, she approached him, her eyes sparkling with joy and her heart filled with anticipation. Without hesitation, Sabrina lunged forward, embracing her big brother with all her might. Noah reciprocated the embrace, holding her tightly against his chest. Tears streamed down Sabrina's cheeks as she whispered, "I missed you so much, Noah." Noah's voice trembled with emotion as he replied, "I missed you too, Sabrina. You have no idea how much." They stood locked in a heartfelt embrace, the weight of their separation lifting with each passing moment. Finally releasing each other, Noah wiped away Sabrina's tears and gazed into her eyes. Sabrina's eyes filled with concern as she asked Noah about their parents and their elder sister, Rowena. Her voice quivered with worry as she hoped for positive news. Noah took a deep breath, his gaze filled with a mixture of sadness and determination. "Father and mother are imprisoned by the Sky Hall," Noah revealed, his voice tinged with a hint of frustration. Sabrina's eyes widened in understanding, for she too was aware of the Sky Hall's cruel actions. "They will only be released after I defeat Ghost," Noah continued, using the name by which he referred to the Dark Lord. Sabrina's brows furrowed, and her voice trembled as she pleaded with him. "Noah, there must be another way. We shouldn't have to fight our own brother," Sabrina implored, her voice filled with a mix of desperation and sadness. She clutched Noah's arm, her eyes searching his for any sign of hesitation. Noah shook his head gently, his expression resolute. "Sabrina, you must understand. The Dark Lord is not our family anymore. He has embraced darkness and poses a threat to the world. If I don't stop him, countless lives will be lost." Sabrina's eyes welled up with tears as she struggled to accept Noah's words. The reality of the situation weighed heavily on her, the thought of her own brother transformed into a malevolent force difficult to comprehend. As Noah's words sank in, Sabrina's mind raced with memories of her encounters with Ghost. Even before learning his true identity as her brother, she had always felt an unexplainable connection to him. When Sabrina was captured by vampires, she had secretly prayed for her brother to come and save her, and to her surprise, it was Ghost who appeared to rescue her. Despite the world labeling Ghost as the embodiment of evil, Sabrina refused to accept that her brother was truly wicked. She held on to the belief that there was still goodness within him, even in the face of overwhelming evidence to the contrary. If we can find Rowena, she will be able to release mother and father. She wouldn't allow her own brothers to fight to the death, Sabrina asserted, clenching her fist with determination, yearning for their elder sister to be by their side. Noah sighed, knowing that Rowena's whereabouts remained a mystery. Many believed she had perished, but Noah knew deep down that it would take more than a celestial beam to extinguish her indomitable spirit. This battle between Ghost and me must happen, Sabrina. He took Alicia's life. She was my wife. I must avenge her, Noah confessed, his voice tinged with a hint of vulnerability. Noah, you must understand that Alicia had the opportunity to walk away, Sabrina explained, her voice filled with empathy. But her heart was consumed by the intense hatred she felt towards Ghost for what he had done to her brother. It was that overwhelming hatred that fueled her determination to confront him. As Sabrina spoke, Noah raised his hand, signifying his desire to interject and share his own perspective. If I were to kill Gaia, Ghost's wife, would that be enough for him to forgive me? Noah posed the question, his voice heavy with the weight of their complicated family dynamics. The feud between Ghost and the Sky Hall has endured for far too long, Sabrina. I must bring an end to it, regardless of the fact that he is my brother, Noah concluded, his heart burdened by the difficult choices he had to make. You should return to the Aquilon realm and stay there until the battle is over, Sabi. Noah's voice trembled with emotion, his eyes welling up with tears. His love and concern for his sister were palpable in his words. If something happens to me in the battle, I need you to be safe and find a way to save our family. Sabrina's heart skipped a beat upon hearing Noah's plea. Her mind and emotions were thrown into turmoil. On one hand, there was Noah, her brother whom she had known and grown up with since childhood. On the other hand, there was Ghost, her recently discovered brother who had been abandoned by their mother. Sabrina couldn't bear the thought of either of her brothers falling in a battle, regardless of how long she had known them. I refuse to stand by and watch my brothers fight each other. I will find a way to stop both of you, Sabrina declared, her voice filled with newfound determination. Noah looked slightly surprised at her resolve, but deep inside, he sighed, understanding Sabrina's naivety. As he looked into her eyes, Sabrina embraced him once again, holding him tightly. I will not let our family be torn apart, she whispered, her voice filled with conviction. Noah returned her embrace, a gentle smile forming on his lips. However, unbeknownst to Noah, as Sabrina hugged him, Sabrina retrieved a teleportation scroll from her belongings. Activating it swiftly, she spoke resolutely, I am doing this for the sake of our family. In an instant, a radiant white light enveloped Sabrina, whisking her away before Noah could react. She disappeared from his sight, leaving him with a mix of emotions. Before Noah could react, Sabrina vanished from his sight, transported to another location. With unwavering determination, Sabrina set her sights on the dark castle, where she intended to confront Ghost, her other brother. Chapter 1027, Sabrina's plea to her brother's eye. After using the teleportation scroll, Sabrina found herself at the edge of the dark ocean. It was the first time she had laid her eyes upon this foreboding body of water, as her previous knowledge had only come from books and newspapers. As she stood on the beach with its black sand, Sabrina understood why it was called the Dark Ocean. Stretching out before her was an endless expanse of black water, while the sky above was filled with menacing storm clouds and lightning bolts illuminating the darkened sky. The wind howled with an eerie sound, and in the distance, she could spot several tornadoes swirling between the sky and the ocean, forming an otherworldly bridge. In the far horizon, she caught a glimpse of her brother's floating mountain, the Dark Lord's stronghold, hovering above the dark ocean. Sabrina knew that once she crossed the boundary line, known as the Void Line, she would no longer be able to rely on arch-energy to fly. So, reaching the floating mountain by air was not an option. With a flick of her wrist, Sabrina summoned a golden cube, one of the many artifacts she had acquired during her time at Mazeroth Academy. As she lightly tapped the cube with her toe, it transformed into a magnificent golden boat. This boat was a gift from Wulfric, the headmaster of Mazeroth, awarded to Sabrina for her victory in a duel. It had wings attached to its sides, resembling a fantastical creature. Sabrina climbed aboard the boat, grasping the paddle firmly. The wings on the boat began to flap, harnessing the power of the wind through intricate gears and mechanisms, propelling the boat forward with remarkable speed. As Sabrina's boat forged ahead, battling against the tumultuous waves and the raging storm, it shuddered under the relentless assault. Nevertheless, Sabrina remained resolute, maintaining her steady grip on the paddle. Though she knew that her brother, the Dark Lord, would not be awaiting her in the dark castle atop the floating mountain, she held on to the hope that he would be watching from a distance, ready to meet her. The closer she drew to the towering floating mountain, the more ferocious the weather became. Dark clouds loomed overhead, unleashing their fury in the form of thunderous roars and flashes of lightning. Amidst the tempest, Sabrina caught sight of figures clad in gleaming silver and sky-blue armor, their wings of feathers shimmering in the stormy sky. With a single glance, she recognized them as the Sky Hall Angels, the very beings who had brought their wrath upon the world since her mother, Deanna, revealed the truth about the Dark Lord being her son. Their presence had ushered in a wave of change, and they had captured the Dark Castle. Sabrina couldn't help but ponder why the Dark Lord's army had retreated rather than putting up a fight. The whereabouts of his vampires and undead forces remained a mystery, leaving her with lingering questions and doubts. Yet, for now, she set aside those concerns, pushing them to the recesses of her mind. All she could do was cling to the hope that her brother, the Dark Lord, would come to her. In her heart, she believed that making her way toward the Dark Castle and relying on the chance that he might be watching over his stronghold was her only avenue to meet him. As the boat battled the fierce waves, a group of Sky Hall angels descended from the dark clouds, their graceful forms hovering in the sky. Their ethereal presence enveloped the air around them, their wings outstretched as they encircled Sabrina's boat. Among them, one angel stood out, adorned in silver armor with intricate gold and crimson-red linings that shimmered in the dim light. With a determined expression, he removed his helmet, revealing fiery red hair and a dark-skinned face marked by a prominent scar running across his left eye. His voice resonated with a mixture of curiosity and disdain as he asked, "What business do you have, venturing towards the Dark Castle?" Sabrina's eyes met his, and without hesitation, she replied, "I am hoping to meet the Dark Lord." The angel's snicker carried a hint of bitter resentment as he clenched his fist, his rage simmering beneath the surface. The memories of the Nagaland War flooded his mind, where he believed his brother had been slain by the Dark Lord. The pain of that loss burned within him, fueling his determination. "You hope to meet the Dark Lord," he scoffed. "Do you not know the atrocities he has committed? The lives he has destroyed?" Sabrina maintained her composure, refusing to engage in a futile argument with the enraged angel. She understood the prejudice held by some of the Sky Hall angels towards her and her family, but she also knew the truth was far more complex than their narrow perspectives allowed. The angel's voice dripped with venom as he continued his tirade, his anger palpable. "Your brother, that evil scumbag, has brought darkness upon this world. Your mother's decision to give birth to such a devil has caused nothing but pain and suffering." Silently, Sabrina bore the weight of his words. She was well aware of the judgments and accusations that had been cast upon her family. Despite her inner turmoil, she knew it was futile to argue or reason with the angel. The prejudice against her and her family was deeply ingrained, and she understood that attempting to change their minds in this moment would be an exercise in futility. The angel's voice grew colder as he delivered his final words. The Dark Lord is not in his castle, it is under the control of the Skyhole. Consider yourself fortunate to have been admitted to Mazeroth and granted protection. But know this, in my eyes, you and your entire family can rot in hell. If I were you, I would fly away and disappear from my sight, Sabrina finally spoke, her voice carrying a warning that resonated through the dark ocean. Do you think I am foolish for venturing into the depths of the dark ocean, knowing that the Dark Lord is not in the castle? Have you ever stopped to consider that I am here because I know he will be watching, observing everything within his domain? Do you truly believe he would allow you to retain control of the castle for long? Sabrina's questions hung in the air, causing the Skyhall angels to pause and contemplate the true meaning behind her words. I am here to talk to the Dark Lord, and if you get out of my way, I will take him somewhere else and talk. Otherwise, he will slaughter you all. Sabrina's words carried a sense of determination and an underlying warning, causing a flicker of uncertainty to pass through the angel's eyes. As the angel leader snickered, his twisted grin revealing his dark intentions, he confidently asserted, although I cannot kill you, little girl, I can certainly ensure you leave this place with a few broken bones. Consider it a lesson in humility. With those words, the angel began his descent, his wings gracefully guiding him downward towards Sabrina's boat. The intricate contraptions embedded in their armor, powered by arch-energy crystals from the Ukulon realm, granted the angels the ability to fly and enhanced their combat prowess. However, Sabrina remained composed and steadfast, her gaze unwavering as the angel landed on her boat with a resounding thud. Ignoring the threatening presence before her, she refused to flinch or display any sign of fear. Raising his hand, the angel prepared to deliver a forceful slap to Sabrina, confident in his ability to intimidate her. As the angel leader's hand descended towards Sabrina, a sudden eruption of hot blood splattered across her face. The angel leader's expression twisted in agony and confusion as he stared at his arm, which now ended abruptly at the missing wrist. Blood sprayed from the severed limb, painting the air in crimson hues. A moment of shock and disbelief held the other angels captive as their eyes followed the dark trajectory of a floating sword. The black blade glistened with a macabre sheen, dripping with the evidence of its lethal strike. With a steady and deliberate motion, the sword soared through the air, homing in on its intended target, the Dark Lord himself. Sabrina turned her head and beheld the awe-inspiring sight of her brother, the Dark Lord, suspended in the air. His commanding presence radiated power, accentuated by the spread of his black metallic wings. The wind tousled his dark hair, framing his stoic countenance as his cold gaze fixated upon the angels, their impending doom evident in his piercing eyes. As the Dark Lord returned to his domain, the angels of the Skyhall quivered in fear, witnessing his formidable presence firsthand. Their eyes met his for a fleeting moment, before he shifted his gaze towards them. A sinister darkness enveloped the area, as his eyes flickered with an eerie hue, ignited by the ominous flames that danced within. Though the Skyhall angels boasted their arch-energy crystal-infused armor, the Dark Lord held absolute dominion over the dark ocean. Crackling bolts of dark lightning emanated from his outstretched hand, an awe-inspiring display of his power. Dark Lord, the angels muttered, their voices tinged with apprehension. However, before they could mount any defense, the Dark Lord unleashed a barrage of lightning bolts, each one piercing through their heads with deadly precision. In an instant, the angels plummeted from the sky, lifeless forms descending like fallen flies. The Dark Lord's might was unrivaled, and the Skyhall angels were but feeble adversaries before him. Once the fallen angels lay still upon the ocean's surface, the Dark Lord approached Sabrina, his intense gaze locking with hers. In her desperation, Sabrina mustered the courage to plead with him, hoping he would grant her a moment to speak. Please, Ghost, give me the opportunity to talk to you, Sabrina beseeched, her voice filled with a mixture of hope and uncertainty, her heart yearning for a chance to reach her brother's troubled soul. If you are here to stop the fight between your brother Noah and me, you are going to be disappointed. Soon, only one of us will stand and the other will fall, the Dark Lord declared with an air of finality. Chapter 10:28. Sabrina's plea to her brothers. 3. After dispatching the Sky Hall angels, Michael carried Sabrina in his arms and swiftly flew away from the dark ocean. Within minutes, they landed on the worn-out premises of an abandoned castle in Kingdom Giselle. Michael, his gaze fixed on the distant horizon, spoke with a solemn tone. "Sabrina, why have you come here?" he inquired, his eyes scanning the vast expanse before him. "You know why I am here." "I want to stop my brothers from killing each other," Sabrina replied, her hands fidgeting nervously as she stood a few meters away from him on the rooftop. "Though we share the same mother, Sabrina, I am not your brother. I have never been and never will be. So, I will fight Noah not as a sibling, but as the Dark Lord, as the world has labeled me," Michael firmly asserted, unwavering in his determination to face Noah in battle. As Michael continued to gaze into the distance, Sabrina mustered her courage and closed the distance between them, taking hold of Michael's hand. "You are my brother. No matter what you think or what the world says, I don't care. You are my brother," Sabrina proclaimed, her eyes welling up with tears. Caught off guard by Sabrina's words, Michael slowly turned his head, his gaze meeting hers. "We both understand that the Sky Hall seeks to manipulate the situation, forcing you and Noah into this conflict. But you too possess the strength to face any challenge. Stand against the Sky Hall and destroy them," Sabrina pleaded, her words tinged with a hint of uncertainty. "I am fighting the Sky Hall, Sabrina. I will destroy them, but your brother is standing in my way. Let me ask you this, Sabrina, will Noah back down from this fight?" Michael asked, his voice tinged with a mix of certainty and curiosity. As anticipated, Sabrina remained silent, unable to provide a definitive response to Michael's query. "There was a time I tried to change the world's view of me. But not anymore. I am tired of explaining my state to the world," Michael sighed, his weariness evident in his voice. "You killed his wife, Ghost. I understand she was always a bitch to you for what you did to her brother, but you could have knocked her out easily, but you killed her. Would you back off of this fight if something happened to Gaia?" Sabrina challenged Michael, her words filled with a mixture of understanding and concern. "The battle between Noah and me is inevitable," Michael replied resolutely, though Sabrina shook her head in disagreement. This chapter upload first at NWSB. C0M, "I refuse to stand idly by and watch my brothers kill each other," Sabrina asserted, her determination shining through. "Regardless of the outcome, Sabrina, you will always have a brother," Michael said, his voice softening as he gently caressed her head. "You know, your mother abandoned me when I was a baby. Noah is hell-bent on fighting me. Rowena could have put an end to the Sky Hall long ago, and your father Ethan is a man who failed to protect his family. However, you, Sabrina, are innocent in all of this," Michael expressed a hint of sorrow in his eyes. "In another life, I would have cherished you as my little sister. I apologize for being unable to be the big brother you long for. To this world and your family, I am the Dark Lord who must die," Michael concluded, his gaze turning cold, and the warmth of his smile fading away. "But I don't die. I am the one who kills. They tossed me into a void when I was just a baby, hoping I won't come back. But here I am." Michael's voice grew rough, and Sabrina felt the darkness around them intensify, a tangible display of his power as the god of darkness. "Ghost, I don't believe our mother willingly abandoned you. Something must have happened, I can see it in your eyes. Deep down, you know that there is more to the story. The Sky Hall has manipulated everyone, including you. Please, consider this and don't let them control you," Sabrina pleaded, her voice filled with genuine concern. "The ones who were truly manipulated are your brother Noah and your sister Rowena. But regardless of the outcome, whether I win or Noah does, the Sky Hall will be destroyed. You will be reunited with your family and can lead a happy life," Michael remarked, brushing Sabrina's eyes. Although he didn't openly express his love as a brother, his simple gesture conveyed his inherent kindness and care. I understand your intentions, Sabrina. You don't want this fight. However, the decision is not mine to make. Khaleesi is currently manipulating your brother, Noah, and I don't blame him. Killing me seems to be the only choice he believes will save his family. Tell him that I will meet him on the battlefield, Michael stated, retrieving a simple silver chain from his storage and handing it to Sabrina. Accept this as a gift from me. I despise your Winston family, but not you. You have always held a special place in my heart. Michael smiled and gently pinched Sabrina's cheek. After this battle concludes, your family will find their way back to you, Michael assured Sabrina. They then sat together on the rooftop, quietly contemplating the horizon. Sabrina understood that persuading her brothers to change their minds was an impossible task. Despite her desperate desire to prevent their clash, she had no means to intervene. So, as she chose to sit beside Michael and spend some precious moments with him as his little sister. Eventually, Michael bid farewell to Sabrina and made his way to the mountain peak where he had first encountered Nithroel. As night fell, the mountaintop was engulfed in darkness, with only the half-moon casting a faint glow. Emerging from the shadows of the trees, Nithroel joined Michael atop the mountain. I think you should take a look at. I told you never to return to the mortal realm until you reach the celestial stage, Nithroel admonished. I intended to follow that instruction, but I received an anonymous note, Michael replied, handing a piece of parchment to Nithroel. Taking the parchment, Nithroel read its contents aloud. I was planning to, but I received an anonymous note. Nithroel recited the chilling words written on the note. Do you have any idea who might have sent this note? Nithroel inquired. Khaleesi, who else? Michael shrugged. The Queen of Nagaland. So she has been working against you, Nithroel mused, to which Michael nodded in agreement. While you were in Destinies, Evan approached me with a proposition. He wanted me and my army to join forces with him in the battle against you. I always suspected that Evan wasn't acting alone. Could he be working for Khaleesi? Nithroel questioned. Michael acknowledged. And how did you respond to his offer? Michael asked. What do you think? I said no. As far as the mortal's concerned, I don't align with you or Noah. I may be the goddess of hunt, but I like to be the empress more. So the lives and livelihood of my citizens is far more important than anything, Nithroel explained. As she spoke, Michael retrieved a parchment and handed it to Nithroel. Keep this with you and read it after my battle with Noah, Michael instructed. Placing the scroll safely in her space ring, Nithroel shifted her gaze from the distant horizon to Michael. You should be aware that your former disciple, Olivia, is assisting Noah in creating pills and potions for his army. The Sky Hall has provided Noah with a formidable force, and every kingdom in Elon and Azer continents has been mobilized. While many kings and queens may not have wished to fight against you, they had no choice. I hope you have an army capable of standing against them, Nithroel informed Michael. Olivia, huh? Michael mumbled, his mind filled with memories of the time he spent teaching her alchemy. I suspect that Noah has gathered the god-killing arrows and distributed them among his trusted allies. Olivia might be one of them. Shouldn't you try to obtain the arrows for yourself? Nithroel questioned, but Michael shook his head. I already possess 2 arrows, and Noah is helping me by gathering all the arrows and bringing them to me, Michael revealed. Whatever your plan may be, you should execute it swiftly. If I were in Sales's position, I would engage you in River Town. It holds sentimental value for you, and your warships would be rendered ineffective there, Nithroel advised, sharing her insights about the upcoming battle. I don't care where the battle takes place. I just want it to be over, Michael sighed, feeling weary from the planning and preparation. You do realize that I won't be aiding you in the battle, right? Nithroel asked, and Michael nodded in acknowledgement. Don't die, Ghost. If Noah can defeat you, you stand no chance against the Pantheon. So, if you fall, better stay dead, Nithrol warned before disappearing from the mountaintop, utilizing her teleportation scroll, leaving Michael alone with his thoughts. In the solitude and silence, Michael took a deep breath and strategized his next moves. With the battle looming near, he knew his priority was to gather his undead army and the vampires who retreated to the undead island. Chapter 1029. Preparing for the battle against Noah. With just 12 hours remaining until the battle between Michael and Noah, tension hung in the air. The urgent note Michael received stated that he had 2 days to fight Noah, or his captured subordinates would meet their demise. Among his subordinates, Adelia Wraith, Maxine, Tiberius, Titus, Optimus, and Tristo were held captive by the Skyhole. As for the remaining subordinates, Raylene, Sadie, Gibson, Corey, the Silent Reaper crew, and Lenora, they were currently away from the undead island and unable to join the impending battle. Michael was left with only a handful of trusted allies: Gaia, his wife, Arya, the Queen of Shadows, Ricky, and Saber, the King of the Nightwalkers. Additionally, Delar stood among them, loyal and ready to fight. The undead island stood as an isolated sanctuary amidst the vast ocean, bridging the southern continent and our continent. As night fell, darkness engulfed the island, shrouding it in an eerie atmosphere. Thick lush forests and towering trees dominated the landscape, concealing the secrets within. At the heart of the island stood the crypt, a magnificent golden pyramid constructed by the ancient Order of the Death 3 millennia ago. Hidden among the trees, it remained a well-guarded secret. But it was not just the crypt that lay hidden within the forest. Countless undead creatures roamed the outskirts, their decaying forms blending seamlessly with the surroundings. Above the forest floor, concealed among the trees, thousands of vampires silently waited, ready to lend their support when the time came. Inside the crypt, Michael stood at the very center, Gaia faithfully by his side, while he surveyed the faces of Arya, Ricky, Saber, and Delar. Positioned behind them were the Alpha Undead, possessing the remarkable ability to control the vast army of undead soldiers strategically. Visually, these Alpha Undeads appeared indistinguishable from the rest of the zombie-like creatures that roamed outside the crypt. Michael deliberately disguised them as ordinary undead, a clever ploy to prevent any suspicion or targeted attacks from their adversaries. By seamlessly blending in with the countless undead, these alpha beings became virtually undetectable amidst the chaos of battle. The tension was palpable on everyone's faces, except for the stoic and emotionless alpha undead. As Michael stood at the center of the crypt, the top of the crypt opened, revealing Eve as she descended, bearing important news. Just as Empress Nithrol predicted, Ghost, the Sky Hall has chosen the river town as the battleground, Eve informed. She approached Michael, leaning closer to whisper into his ear. Our spy has revealed that Noah and the Sky Hall angels had a disagreement. The angels wanted to use the townspeople as leverage to force your surrender, but Noah went against it and evacuated the town with the help of his allies in the Beast Kingdom, Eve whispered. Fucking assholes, Gaia cursed the Sky Hall for their attempt to exploit innocent lives in their battle against Michael. Lady Eve, do you have any information about the size of the Sky Hall and Noah's armies? Saber inquired. They have 8,000 soldiers in total, including 2,000 beast men and 3,000 Sky Hall angels. However, I suspect the Sky Hall may have more soldiers and hidden strategies up their sleeves, Eve disclosed. Gaia's brows furrowed at the news, her role as a general coming to the forefront. Not only was she Michael's wife, but also a skilled commander with the ability to lead a formidable army. In contrast, Michael, the Dark Lord himself, had been trained as an assassin, lacking the experience in commanding such vast forces. Thanks to what you did, they won't have demons, Gaia stated, scanning the crypt as if searching for someone. Speaking of demons, where is Azazel? Gaia asked, curious about Azazel's whereabouts. Doing something important with Eladir, Michael replied. Hearing the number of soldiers that Noah and the Sky Hall had unsettled Michael's subordinates. With 6,000 soldiers in their dark army, including undead and vampires. They wanted to ensure they had the advantage in numbers despite the strength of their undead and vampire forces. This is it, everyone. Our grand battle against the Sky Hall and Noah. I'm not one for big speeches, but I'll tell you this, we will win this war. The Sky Hall believes Noah can defeat me, and he's their only hope. So when Noah falls, the Sky Hall will crumble like a house of cards, Michael's voice echoed through the crypt. Gaia stepped forward, her presence commanding attention. As she looked at each of her comrades, her eyes filled with unwavering determination. My fellow warriors, we stand on the eve of an epic battle against the Sky Hall and Noah. I know the odds may seem stacked against us, but remember who we are. We are the forces of darkness, united under the leadership of the Dark Lord. We have faced countless challenges, overcome insurmountable odds, and emerged victorious time and time again. Today will be no different, Gaia's voice rang out with strength and conviction. She continued, do not be swayed by their numbers or their deceitful tactics. We possess something they will never understand, true unity, loyalty, and a bond forged through blood, sweat, and sacrifice. We have faced adversity together, and together we will triumph. Gaia's words resonated deeply within the hearts of Michael's subordinates, reigniting the fire that burned within them. Their spirits were lifted, and a newfound determination sparked in their eyes. Michael, too, felt the impact of Gaia's powerful speech. It stirred a renewed sense of purpose within him, reminding him of his true potential and the plans he had carefully devised to outsmart the Sky Hall. Unbeknownst to their enemies, Michael had devised secret strategies that would catch the Sky Hall off guard. They had expected a straightforward battle, but Michael had something else in mind. He knew that their overconfidence would be their downfall. As the morale-boosting speech concluded, the atmosphere within the crypt crackled with a newfound determination. Michael's subordinates stood tall, ready to face their enemies head-on. They were united, prepared to unleash their full power and fulfill their duty to protect their leader, their Dark Lord. I think you should take a look at, prepare our forces and await my signal. When you receive it, use the teleportation portal located here and gather at River Town, Michael instructed his subordinates. As he spoke, he led Eve and Gaia outside, emerging through the top of the crypt. Once outside, they ascended to a mountaintop on the undead island, granting them a vantage point overlooking the entire island and the vast expanse of the ocean that surrounded it. The moon's gentle glow cast shimmering reflections upon the ocean's surface, while a gentle breeze brushed against Michael atop the mountaintop. So, it's finally happening, Eve remarked, standing alongside Michael and Gaia. Eve, it is of utmost importance that we protect Dalar at all costs. Your duty is to ensure his safety and escort him out if the situation becomes dire, Michael stated with a seriousness that caught Eve and Gaia off guard. We are going to win this. Nothing will go south, Gaia affirmed with determination. I know. But we still need to have backups. Since our army consists mostly of vampires and undeads, Noah won't hesitate to take their lives. Plus, he has Norvin. I will take care of Norvin and Noah, Michael declared. Eve sighed, expressing her wish for Empress Nithrol to join their forces. No, it is crucial that she remains unaligned with me, Michael shook his head. I put Vidora in charge of planning a rescue operation for our captured subordinates. It will be a difficult mission but it's up to them now, Michael stated, his gaze shifting to Eve. Ensure that your sister Jasmine stays far away from the battlefield. She is in love with Noah, and you cannot risk her getting close to him in the battlefield, Michael cautioned Eve. Unbeknownst to Michael and Eve, Jasmine Voldegard was actually a clone engineered by the Sky Hall Elders, along with Yasmin Winston. They were part of the Sky Hall's elaborate plan to manipulate Noah, the god of light. It would be best to eliminate Noah as soon as possible. The Sky Hall's entire army relies on him. Once Noah falls, the rest will crumble, Gaia suggested. However, they both understood that killing Noah would not be an easy task. Michael possessed 2 god-killing arrows, while Noah had managed to acquire 5 with the assistance of Lord Information. Both brothers needed to possess all 7 arrows and use them to eliminate the other. Michael had taken all necessary precautions, tying up any loose ends and making thorough preparations for the battle against his twin brother, Noah. What about Evan? Eve inquired, concerned about the threat Evan posed since becoming a god and aligning with Selesi. Selesi won't send Evan into battle prematurely. He will only intervene if Noah appears to be losing, Michael replied, before Gaia interjected. But he will lose, right? Gaia questioned with a furrowed brow. Yes, Michael quickly affirmed before continuing. However, Evan won't pose a significant threat, as he is aware that I can eliminate Victoria with a snap. What we need to be wary of are Sales's other hidden cards. I suspect she is amassing a soul army, an entity about which we know very little, if it indeed exists, Michael explained, his voice laced with caution. I don't like this. There are too many unknown variables at play, Gaia expressed with a sigh, her unease evident in her voice. They can have all the intricate plans and trump cards they want, Gaia. But I have a simple plan, kill Noah, Michael responded with a sinister smirk, his eyes gleaming with a chilling determination. With his words hanging in the air, Michael spread his majestic wings, their metallic sheen catching the moonlight. With a swift motion, he scooped up Eve and took to the skies, soaring above the world below. The wind rushed past them as they ascended higher, aiming for their destination, the river town where Noah was waiting for him. Chapter 1030, Noah and Michael meets. As Michael soared beyond the void line, he activated the runic teleportation, transporting himself and Eve to the outskirts of the river town. The town lay under the vast expanse of the night sky, illuminated by the gentle glow of the moon and the stars that adorned the sky. The enchanting river flowed alongside the town, its crystal-clear waters reflecting the shimmering moonlight as it traced a winding path through the heart of the landscape. The tranquil murmur of the river echoed softly, adding a serene melody to the ambience. In the near distance, majestic mountain chains rose proudly, their lush peaks reaching toward the heavens. Among these natural wonders, the remnants of the Sunrise sect's abandoned buildings stood as silent witnesses to what Skyhall did to all the sections. The river town itself was encased in a glistening pale blue dome, shielding it from the outside world. The ethereal barrier enveloped the entire town, casting an otherworldly glow upon the streets and buildings within. It stood as a testament to the powerful enchantments woven by the Skyhall, trying to control the damage that would fall upon the outside world when 2 gods fight. As Michael appeared out of the protective dome, his gaze was drawn to the expansive hillside that stretched beyond the town buildings, once used by the river town people for farming. It was upon these fertile lands that Noah and the formidable Skyhall army now stood, patiently awaiting Michael's arrival. The sight of Michael's presence in the sky immediately caught the attention of the opposing forces. Noah's eyes locked onto his twin brother, the Dark Lord, as he hovered above, accompanied by his wife Gaia and their loyal ally, Eve Voldegard. A tense silence settled over the battlefield, the air pregnant with anticipation. Standing strong behind Noah, an army of 8,000 soldiers stood at attention, their resolve evident in their unwavering stance. Among them, Norvin, transformed into his true form, a towering gorilla with lustrous golden fur, commanded their attention with his booming voice. Activate the lights. Norvin's command reverberated through the air, resounding across the expanse of river town like a resolute thunderclap. As Norvin's commanding voice echoed, the darkness within the energy dome was swiftly extinguished by the radiant glow of strategically placed orbs. These luminous spheres, carefully positioned throughout the town, emitted a brilliant light that served to weaken Michael, the god of darkness, while bolstering Noah, the god of light. Standing resolutely beside Noah was Maisie, a determined young girl who had once sought to claim Nightmare when he was but a mere baby. Her fists clenched in anger, she stood as a staunch ally of Noah. Among Noah's formidable army stood the Bellaforts, Alicia's family, united in their quest for vengeance to avenge their fallen heirs, Alicia and Peter. Their determined gazes were fixed upon Michael, the Dark Lord, as they prepared to face him head-on. Accompanying them were the proud Sky Hall angels, adorned in shimmering silver and sky-blue armor, their feathery wings gracefully adorning their backs. Adding strength to Noah's forces were the beast men, an assortment of humanoid beings with the characteristics of tigers, lions, wolves, and eagles. These majestic creatures exuded a fearless presence, standing tall without a trace of trepidation. However, their eyes scanned the battlefield in search of the Dark Lord's army, only to find that Michael had arrived in River Town with only his wife, the Dark Queen Gaia, and his loyal friend Eve Voldegard. Among the various races inhabiting this world, only the dwarves and the beast men had chosen to ally themselves with Noah in his battle against Michael. The dwarves, known for their resilience and craftsmanship, stood side by side with Noah's forces, lending their strength and expertise. Meanwhile, the beast men, remarkable beings possessing both human and animal traits, also joined Noah's cause, their fierce and untamed nature adding a formidable edge to the alliance. On the other hand, the elves, under the wise command of Nithroel, had opted to remain neutral, abstaining from taking sides in the conflict between Noah and Michael. Surprisingly, the majority of the orcs, often perceived as ferocious and warlike due to their intimidating appearance, were actually a peaceful race. They found solace in scholarly pursuits, their intellectual pursuits far outweighing any inclination towards combat. It was their love for knowledge and tranquility that kept them away from the war against the Dark Lord, as they preferred a life of peaceful contemplation over engaging in violent conflicts. As the battle drew near, Noah's army swiftly organized themselves into formations, each group positioning themselves strategically across the river town. From a bird's-eye view, the scene resembled an intricate mosaic of soldiers, with the different races and factions standing in distinct patterns. The Sky Hall angels, resplendent in their silver and sky-blue armor, formed a tight-knit formation near Noah, their wings spread wide, ready to take flight at a moment's notice. The beast men, with their bestial features, assumed a ferocious formation, their ranks resembling a pack of predatory creatures preparing to strike. The dwarves, renowned for their craftsmanship and resilience, assembled in a compact yet sturdy formation, their stout figures forming a resilient bulwark in the midst of the army. Amidst the organized chaos, murmurs and whispers filled the air among Noah's forces. Some wondered aloud where the Dark Lord's army was, expressing eagerness to put an end to his reign once and for all. Their anticipation was palpable as they eagerly awaited the clash that would decide the fate of their world. "I hope the Dark Lord's army shows up soon. I've been waiting to take him down for ages," one soldier exclaimed with a determined glint in his eyes. "Patience, my friend. The Dark Lord will soon face the wrath of our united forces," another soldier reassured, his voice filled with confidence. Meanwhile, the dwarves, known for their practicality and occasional humor, chimed in with their own distinctive remarks. "Hey, lads. Make sure you lot protect us and our magnificent weapons. We're the heart of this battle, after all," a dwarf bellowed with a hearty laugh, earning chuckles and nods from his fellow dwarves. "Oi, lads. Remember, we've got the finest weapons in all the realms," exclaimed one dwarf with a thick accent. "Aye, that's true. They should be protecting us, not the other way around," another dwarf chimed in, his voice filled with jest. Laughter erupted among the dwarves, their camaraderie shining through even in the face of battle. With their distinctive beards and sturdy frames, they exuded a sense of indomitable spirit. "Don't worry. We'll shield you with our lives and make sure those weapons of yours shine brighter than the sun," another soldier responded, playfully flexing his muscles. "I haven't seen so many people wanting to die at once," remarked the Dark Queen Gaia, her voice resonating across the battlefield, laced with a hint of scorn. "I think you should take a look at, don't be too quick to judge us." "Well, see who do the dying," retorted one of the angels defiantly, their wings fluttering with a mix of confidence and determination. "Hey, ghost, you shouldn't have tamed that dragon. Look what happened. Now it's dead," taunted Maisie, a mischievous glint in her eyes as she attempted to provoke Michael. "Shouldn't you be at school or something, little girl?" Eve questioned with a seriousness that contrasted with Maisie's playful demeanor. Her remark elicited chuckles from some of the dwarves, who found the situation amusing. "Don't you lot laugh. She's poking fun at one of our own," growled a fellow soldier, his voice filled with a touch of irritation. "But it's still rather amusing," the dwarves chuckled, finding humor in the banter exchanged between Eve and Maisie. Contrary to previous conflicts involving the Dark Lord, the Sky Hall had prohibited news reporters and any other individuals from entering Kingdom Bradford to witness the battle between Michael and Noah. As a result, the sky above the river town remained devoid of any onlookers. Amidst the tension-filled atmosphere, Michael finally broke the silence, his voice laced with amusement. "I must say, I had higher expectations of the dwarves' intelligence. Yet here you are, foolishly attempting to fight against me. Doesn't seem too intelligent, does it?" With a chilling tone, Michael directed his question at the dwarves, his words dripping with a menacing threat. "Have you ever stopped to consider what I can and will do to your entire race once I emerge victorious in this war?" As the weight of Michael's words settled upon them, the dwarves couldn't help but notice a gradual transformation in the night sky. The once twinkling stars and radiant moon now became shrouded in a veil of dark and foreboding clouds. The celestial beauty was marred by an eerie darkness that sent shivers down their spines. The dwarves felt an unease settling within them after hearing the Dark Lord's question. Their voices rose in response, shouting defiantly, "We fight for revenge against the damn elves. The Sky Hall promised us that." To their surprise, Michael's response was filled with laughter, his amusement reverberating across the battlefield. "You stupid fools," he taunted, his tone dripping with contempt. "Didn't you know that Empress Nithroel has ascended to become a goddess? The Sky Hall holds no power over her. If anything, she will unleash her wrath upon the race that harbors such deep hatred against her own people." "The Sky Hall has deceived you all," said Michael before pausing. "The dwarven race will face further decline in power, whether you win or lose this war," Michael declared, his voice filled with an air of superiority. The dwarves, known for their craftsmanship and engineering skills, felt a twinge of unease at his words. They were a hot-blooded people, driven by their passions, but lacked the finesse and political acumen of the elves. The Dark Lord continued, exposing the deceit of the Sky Hall and revealing the true power dynamics at play. "Meanwhile, Empress Nithroel and the elves will remain in power. She is a master strategist, capable of outmaneuvering anyone in the realm. When your dwarven race weakens, she can wipe you out whenever she wants." As Michael laid bare their predicament, doubts began to seep into the minds of the dwarves. They started to question their fervent involvement in the war, realizing the manipulations and risks that lay ahead. The allure of revenge against the elves began to waver in the face of the Dark Lord's revelation. "Did you hear what the Dark Lord said? It makes sense," one dwarf whispered to another. "No matter if we win or lose, our race will suffer. Is revenge worth sacrificing our future? I mean, think about it." "The Dark Lord makes a valid point," the other dwarf responded, scratching his beard thoughtfully. "If the Empress and the elves stay in power, what's our fate? We'll be left vulnerable." "Yeah, I mean, I'm all for revenge and all, but being wiped out by the Empress doesn't sound too appealing," another dwarf chimed in, scratching his head. "Maybe the Sky Hall did lie to us," another dwarf pondered. "We shouldn't have blindly followed their promises without questioning their motives." The questioning dwarves exchanged serious glances, contemplating the weight of their decision. However, their contemplation didn't go unnoticed by their leaders, who quickly intervened. "Enough with the doubt. We made our choice, and we must stand by it," one of the leader dwarves bellowed, attempting to silence the dissenting voices. Upon witnessing the dwarves' wavering resolve, Norvin raised his voice to counter Michael's words. "Don't let him mess with your minds. Stay strong." Norvin's voice boomed across the battlefield, attempting to reignite the dwarves' determination. Meanwhile, Noah locked his gaze with Michael, his twin brother. A mix of conflicting emotions surged within him. On one hand, he had recently discovered that the Dark Lord was none other than his own flesh and blood. On the other hand, the Dark Lord, his twin brother, had taken the life of his beloved wife, Alicia. Noah's expression remained stoic as he grappled with the weight of these emotions. The battlefield stood as a backdrop to their personal vendetta, an intricate clash of kinship and vengeance. Chapter 1031, Michael vs. Noah. Battle begins. We should attack him. Norvin turned to Noah, suggesting that they should launch an attack on the Dark Lord. However, Noah shook his head, opting to wait for the Dark Lord's army to reveal itself. As anticipated, Noah sensed a disturbance in the space around him. Moments later, black vortexes materialized in the air and on the ground outside the energy dome. From these teleportation vortexes, hordes of undead creatures emerged, their haunting moans filling the air. The sight of the undead sent a shiver down the spines of the dwarves and the beast men in the army, evoking both disgust and fear. Norvin and Noah were taken aback by the sight of flying undead. While they were accustomed to using flying swords as a means of aerial mobility, witnessing the undead take to the skies was a chilling revelation. These flying undead were another successful creation of Dalar, the mastermind behind Michael's undead army. The previous war in Nagaland had seen Michael employ bloaters, a different type of undead that exploded amidst enemy ranks, causing widespread destruction. In the face of the emerging undead army, the dwarves and the beast men exchanged anxious glances. They engaged in a conversation, their voices laced with both concern and disbelief. What in the name of the mountain is that? Flying undead. This can't be happening, one dwarf exclaimed, his voice trembling with fear. They're defying the natural laws. How can undead creatures fly? Another dwarf muttered, his voice laced with disbelief. Meanwhile, the beast man growled with a mixture of aggression and fear. Those creatures. They are an abomination. We've never seen anything like this before, a beast man snarled, his claws digging into the ground. I've seen my fair share of battles, but this is something else. How are we supposed to fight against flying undead? Noah, what kind of undead are these? Norvin turned to Noah, seeking answers, but Noah remained silent, his eyes fixed on the approaching horde. These undeads. They're an unexpected threat. We need to be prepared, Noah finally spoke, his voice filled with determination. As the undead army continued to pour out of the vortexes, a putrid stench filled the air, carrying the unmistakable odor of decaying flesh and death. The atmosphere became heavy with the foul scent, causing some of the soldiers to gag and cover their noses. The shuffling footsteps of the undead resonated throughout the battlefield, accompanied by the eerie moans and groans that escaped their rotting mouths. It was a haunting chorus that echoed in the hearts of those who stood witness to the macabre sight. The sounds of bones cracking and joints creaking reverberated through the air as the undead moved with an unnatural agility. Some emitted ghastly wails, while others emitted guttural growls, creating a dissonant symphony of terror that sent chills down the spines of all who heard it. Do not be too shocked now. We have more surprises in store for you, Gaia taunted the opposing army with a smirk. With a resounding clap of her hands, the sound echoed through the river town like thunder, capturing everyone's attention. As if summoned by her command, additional vortexes materialized in the air and on the ground. From these swirling portals emerged vampires, draped in sleek black armor and robes. The airborne vampires gracefully hovered behind Michael, forming the silhouette of enormous, ominous wings. Meanwhile, the dark clouds above Michael grew thicker and more menacing, giving rise to an intense lightning storm. The gathering storm reflected his power as the god of darkness, a stark contrast to the radiant light emanating from the energy dome. As the lightning bolts crackled across the sky, Eve flicked her wrist, conjuring her war hammer. The weapon pulsed with electric energy, drawing power from the storm above. It crackled with raw power, a manifestation of the unleashed forces of nature. In a captivating display, an ethereal form of a black king cobra materialized behind Gaia, revealing her true nature as a naga. As lightning streaks illuminated the sky, the cobra's looming shadow cast a terrifying presence. However, what truly astonished and unnerved the opposing army was the formation of the clouds. They gathered together, coalescing into a colossal skull, serving as the ominous symbol of the Dark Lord. The combined display of power and elemental forces left the enemy forces awestruck, their confidence waning in the face of such formidable might. The dwarves, beastmen, and sky-hall angels observed the spectacle before them, their expressions filled with a mix of awe, fear, and curiosity. They couldn't help but comment on the Dark Army's impressive display. "By the hammers of our ancestors, have you ever seen anything like this?" one of the dwarves whispered to his companion, his eyes wide with amazement. "Nay, never in all my years," replied the other dwarf, his voice tinged with both excitement and trepidation. "These undead and vampires, they're a force to be reckoned with." The beastmen, renowned for their primal instincts, exchanged puzzled glances and murmured amongst themselves. "Those flying undead. I've never witnessed anything so eerie," remarked a beastman with a lion-like face. "They move like shadows in the night. I think you should take a look at among the sky-hall angels." Whispers of disbelief and concern spread. "Such darkness and lightning. It's almost unnatural," remarked one angel, his voice barely audible above the storm. Inside Michael's mind, the constant notifications of his badass points became overwhelming. He quickly muted the sounds, realizing the need to focus solely on the battle at hand. Both Noah and Norvin were taken aback by the staggering number of vampires and undead standing before them. Despite their numerical superiority, they recognized that the combined power of the vampires and undead posed a formidable challenge to their own forces. They were well aware that the Dark Lord had more tricks up his sleeve, yet he chose to keep them hidden for the time being. "What are we waiting for?" Impatiently, Noah's voice echoed through the battlefield, demanding action. His eyes ignited with radiant flames of light, and beams of light shot forth from his gaze. Two swords materialized in his hands, engulfed in the majestic coils of the light flames. Adorned in specially crafted armor forged by the skilled dwarves, Noah truly looked the part of the god of light. As he ascended into the sky, angelic wings made of pure light sprouted from his back, radiating a divine aura. Michael, not one to be outdone, also underwent a transformation of his own. Dark flames erupted from his eyes, and his metallic wings, which were part of his dark armor, became enveloped in swirling dark flames. In each of his hands, dark swords materialized, their blades enshrouded in the coiling embrace of black flames. The air crackled with the intensity of their powers, a stark contrast of light and darkness preparing to clash. "Let us settle this once and for all," declared Michael, his voice resolute and filled with determination. "Attack!" Norvin's roar resounded through the battlefield, igniting a surge of energy as the two armies charged at each other, leaving chaos in their wake. Michael and Noah, locked in their intense aerial duel, swung their swords simultaneously, their weapons clashing in midair. The clash of dark and light unleashed a colossal shockwave that reverberated through the very ground, causing the sky to crack as the two gods clashed. "So, light flames. Who handed them over to you, Noah?" Michael questioned, their swords grinding against each other in a fierce deadlock. "When you do good, people lend their support. It's something you fail to understand, Ghost," Noah retorted. Within the thin layer of the energy dome, Noah remained suspended mid-air, bathed in luminous radiance, while Michael hovered on the opposite side where darkness held sway. "It's easy to talk when everything is handed to you on a silver platter," Michael snickered, abruptly headbutting Noah and sending him hurtling backward. Noah adjusted his neck with a crack and swiftly dashed towards Michael, his movements infused with lightning speed. As he closed in on his adversary, Noah unleashed a beam of light from his swords. Reacting instinctively, Michael raised his arm, summoning a retractable black shield from his wrist. The shield absorbed the searing light beams, its color shifting to a fiery orange due to the intense heat. Michael's hand tingled from the impact, but undeterred, Noah propelled himself forward with lightning speed, aiming a powerful kick at Michael. In response, Michael reciprocated the attack, their legs colliding in midair. With a resounding clash, they struck each other's heads with their legs, their fierce cries filling the air as their determination and power collided in an epic showdown. Spitting the blood in his mouth, Michael surged forward, propelling himself through the air with unstoppable determination. Once again, he and Noah clashed in a breathtaking aerial confrontation, their swords locked in a furious battle of light and darkness. Noah's pair of swords, engulfed in radiant light flames, danced through the air with grace and precision. He unleashed a series of swift, calculated strikes, weaving his blades with remarkable agility and finesse. Each swing of his swords emitted dazzling arcs of light, illuminating the battlefield as he sought to exploit any opening in Michael's defenses. In response, Michael wielded his two dark swords, wreathed in swirling dark flames that exuded an aura of malevolence. With calculated brutality, he matched Noah's every move with unwavering focus and unwieldy strength. His strikes carried an undeniable weight, channeling the darkness within him into each devastating blow. Their clash created a spectacle of opposing forces, a symphony of light and dark intertwining in a dance of raw power. Michael's dark blades clashed against Noah's radiant swords, sparks flying as their immense strength met with equal intensity. The clash of their swords reverberated through the air, echoing their unyielding determination to emerge victorious. Noah's swift and agile footwork allowed him to evade Michael's relentless assault, his nimble movements showcasing his mastery of the light. He skillfully parried and countered Michael's strikes, utilizing his speed and precision to exploit any opening he could find. With each counterattack, he unleashed bursts of searing light, forcing Michael to adjust his defensive stance continuously. In turn, Michael utilized his inherent darkness to launch powerful and unpredictable attacks. He combined brute force with deceptive speed, delivering bone-crushing blows that tested Noah's resilience. The dark flames that enveloped Michael's swords enhanced their destructive potential, leaving trails of shadowy residue in their wake. Noah's voice trembled with anger as he shouted at Michael, his words filled with anguish and resentment. "I wish our mother had never given birth to you. Because of you, I lost everything." The pain in his voice was palpable as he confronted the Dark Lord. Michael's response cut through the air like a sharp blade, his words carrying the weight of his own painful past. "And how does it feel to have nothing? You had everything while I had nothing." His voice thundered, resonating with a mix of anger and sorrow. In a moment of strategic agility, Michael swiftly discarded his dark sword and delivered a powerful punch straight to Noah's jaw. Caught off guard, Noah was unable to defend himself, and the force of the blow sent him hurtling towards the ground, causing a cascade of destruction as he crashed into several buildings. The impact reverberated through the air, leaving a trail of shattered debris in its wake. The sheer force of Michael's punch showcased his formidable strength, catching Noah off balance and exposing his vulnerability. The clash between the two gods took an unexpected turn as Michael seized the opportunity to unleash a devastating blow, momentarily gaining the upper hand in their fierce confrontation. Chapter 1032, Michael vs. Noah. The battle continues as Noah crashed through the debris, the nearby undead army hurriedly rushed toward the fallen god. Meanwhile, Michael, unfazed by the chaos, flapped his metallic wings and soared toward Noah's location. However, just as he approached, a colossal fist materialized out of nowhere and struck Michael squarely in the face. It was none other than Norvin, propelling himself from the ground to deliver the unexpected blow in midair. Yet, Norvin had underestimated the immense power gap between him and Michael. While Norvin stood at the half-immortal stage of cultivation, Michael possessed the cultivation of a half-celestial, a vast difference in strength. Norvin's punch, despite generating a powerful shockwave that demolished nearby buildings, failed even to rattle Michael. The Dark Lord stood resolute in the sky, his unwavering presence emanating a terrifying aura. In a silent exchange, Michael met Norvin's gaze, their eyes locked in a moment of intense confrontation. With a mere glance, Michael unleashed two dark beams from his eyes, striking Norvin's shoulder with precision. Arg! Simultaneously, Gaia's mighty roar reverberated through the battlefield, signaling her entrance into the fray. Descending from above, Gaia underwent a transformation, assuming her true form as a 10-foot king cobra with sleek black scales. With lightning speed, her serpentine body coiled around Norvin, ensnaring him within her powerful grasp. In one swift motion, Gaia swung Norvin towards a nearby building, crashing him into its sturdy structure. The impact echoed through the surroundings, further escalating the chaos of the battle. On the opposing side, Eve Voldegard took charge at the forefront of the Dark Army. With a mighty leap, she soared into the air, her warhammer held high as crackling lightning bolts danced around her. Her attire, consisting of black armor and a billowing cape, fluttered in the wind, adding to her commanding presence. Bringing her hammer down forcefully, Eve struck the ground, unleashing a powerful shockwave that rippled through Noah's army. As the clash intensified, several Skyhall angels, adorned in their feathery wings and silver armor, closed in on Eve from various directions. Despite being surrounded by thousands of beastmen and soldiers from Noah's army, Eve displayed no trace of fear in her resolute gaze. With unwavering determination, she raised her hammer skyward, preparing for the impending confrontation. Suddenly, a violent vortex of pure lightning energy descended from above, engulfing Eve in its powerful embrace. Her eyes and body radiated with a crimson-red glow, fueled by the immense power coursing through her. Locked in her crimson gaze were three Skyhall angels hurtling towards her. The first angel, equipped with formidable armor, relied on its protective armor to face Eve, who surpassed him in cultivation. However, Eve's spellcasting abilities and sheer power proved overwhelming for the angel's armor. As the angel drew closer, Eve swiftly sidestepped, tossing her warhammer into the air while gripping the angel's feathery wings. In a brutal display, Eve tore away the feathery armor from the angel's body, eliciting agonized roars of pain. Without granting the soldier a moment's respite, she delivered a forceful punch to his face, sending him crashing to the ground. Seizing the opportune moment, Eve allowed her warhammer to descend upon the angel's head, pulverizing it into a gruesome mass of blood and bone. As Noah crashed into the building, a blinding explosion of light erupted from the impact point. The radiant burst propelled the surrounding undead into the air, reducing some of them to mere piles of ash. Emerging from the wreckage, Noah rose with determination, his gaze fixed on Michael. Seizing a large boulder nearby, he hurled it towards the Dark Lord who loomed in the sky. Michael swiftly reacted, unleashing dark beams from his eyes that sliced through the boulder, splitting it in two. However, Noah skillfully maneuvered himself through the resulting gap, catching his opponent off guard. With swift precision, Noah landed a powerful punch to Michael's face followed by a forceful kick to his gut. In retaliation, Michael seized Noah by the neck, his grip firm and unyielding. Descending with great speed, he plowed through the ground, causing debris and asphalt to shatter beneath their combined weight. Finally, reaching the end of the pathway, Michael forcefully hurled Noah into a distant building, the impact resonating with destructive force. It was at this moment that Michael realized he found himself amidst Noah's army, surrounded by his enemies. Despite being in the heart of the opposing forces, the Skyhall angels and beastmen halted their advance, refraining from drawing any closer to Michael. Fear was evident in their eyes, for they understood that Noah alone possessed the strength and chance to confront the Dark Lord. At that moment, Eve landed gracefully right behind Michael, standing shoulder to shoulder with her friend. A brief exchange of glances passed between them, a silent understanding of their shared purpose. "Destroy those light orbs," Michael commanded Eve, his voice carrying the weight of urgency. The intense bright lights emanating from the orbs needed to be extinguished. Although the light didn't pose a significant threat to Michael, he knew that eliminating it would ensure he stood at his absolute strongest. "Stop her!" The Sky Hall angels, witnessing Eve's actions, desperately cried out, commanding their forces to stop her. In a swift and calculated motion, Eve propelled herself towards the sky, her war hammer firmly grasped in her hand. The Sky Hall angels, attempting to impede her progress, found themselves swiftly dealt with by Michael's dark beams. The sight was gruesome and unsettling, as bodies were torn asunder, drenching the battlefield in pools of blood and filling the air with its pungent scent. Amidst the chaos, the battlefield erupted into a whirlwind of violence and bloodshed. The undead clashed mercilessly with Noah's army, tearing through the ranks of beastmen and soldiers alike. In retaliation, Noah's forces unleashed powerful spells upon the relentless undead horde. The clash of spells and the clash of steel created a cacophony of chaotic warfare, with neither side showing any sign of relenting. In a desperate attempt to turn the tide of battle, hundreds of Noah's soldiers raised their hands simultaneously, channeling their collective energy into a powerful spell. The air crackled with electricity as their combined magic swirled and intertwined, forming a swirling vortex of energy above them. "I think you should take a look at the spell," began to take shape, manifesting as a colossal beam of pure elemental force. It surged downward from the vortex, tearing through the battlefield with unstoppable force. The beam glowed with intense light, tinged with shades of blue and white, as it sliced through the ranks of the undead army. Wherever it touched, the undead disintegrated into dust, vanishing from existence. The ground beneath them trembled as the spell carved a path of destruction, obliterating everything in its wake. The soldiers watched in awe as their spell wrought havoc upon the undead forces. The sheer magnitude of their collective power filled them with hope, their shouts of triumph echoing through the chaos. But their celebration was abruptly cut short as the Dark Lord's army retaliated with a sinister countermove. From the depths of the undead ranks emerged a grotesque sight, bloated figures, their bodies swollen with foul gases. These abominations, known as bloaters, emitted a pungent stench that permeated the air, causing many of Noah's soldiers to gag and cover their noses. "No! Not the bloaters," one soldier cried out, his voice laced with fear. But before he could finish his warning, the bloaters reached the spellcasters, their grotesque bodies pulsating with lethal intent. With a sickening explosion, the bloaters detonated, unleashing a wave of destruction that engulfed the spellcasters. The force of the explosion tore through the ranks of Noah's soldiers, leaving devastation and carnage in its wake. Noah rose from the rubble of the shattered building, his eyes burning with determination. He raised his hands towards Michael, his palms radiating with intense light. Concentrated beams of pure luminosity shot forth from his outstretched hands, blazing through the air with blinding speed. The beams of light sliced through anything in their path, disintegrating the undead soldiers unfortunate enough to be caught in their trajectory. Buildings crumbled into dust, and the ground beneath them cracked and shattered, unable to withstand the sheer force of Noah's unleashed power. The light beams illuminated the battlefield, casting an ethereal glow upon the chaos below. Not to be outdone, Michael responded by raising his own hand, his palm emanating a swirling darkness. Dark beams erupted from his fingertips, coiling like serpents as they raced towards Noah. The clash between the light beams and the dark beams created an explosive collision, unleashing a cataclysmic shockwave that reverberated through the air. The resulting explosion engulfed the surrounding area, decimating everything within its vicinity. The force of the impact sent shockwaves rippling through the battlefield, shaking the ground and tossing debris into the air like confetti. The intense light and dark energies collided, creating a maelstrom of destruction that tore through the undead army and Noah's soldiers alike. The destructive power of the collision was awe-inspiring. Buildings crumbled, reduced to rubble in an instant. Trees were uprooted, their branches splintered and scattered across the battlefield. The shockwave blasted away soldiers, both undead and living, like rag dolls, flinging them through the air with merciless force. The explosion left behind a scene of desolation and ruin. Smoke and dust filled the air, obscuring the battlefield in a haze. The sound of crumbling structures and anguished cries echoed amidst the devastation. The once bustling landscape now lay in ruins, a testament to the unrelenting power of the clash between light and darkness. As they soared through the sky, Noah and Michael collided, engaging in a fierce battle without the aid of their swords. Their clenched fists clashed with thunderous impacts, each strike resonating through the air. "Tell me, Noah, how did you manage to reach the half-celestial stage?" "Let me guess, someone lent you a helping hand, as always." Michael sneered at Noah, taunting him about his progress to the half-celestial stage. He mocked Noah, suggesting that someone had assisted him, as if Noah's accomplishments were not his own. "This would have been a one-sided massacre if it weren't for the constant plot armor you seem to acquire," Michael jeered, attempting to undermine Noah's abilities. Their bodies twisted and turned in the air as they exchanged blows, their movements fluid and precise. Noah's determination fueled his every strike, while Michael's dark aura enveloped him, lending an air of menacing power to his attacks. With each clash, the sound of fists meeting flesh echoed through the sky, their intense rivalry escalating to new heights. The air crackled with their energy, their movements leaving trails of energy in their wake. Despite their physical combat, their conflict ran deeper than mere punches and taunts. It was a battle of brothers, of contrasting powers and ideologies. Each blow carried the weight of their shared history and personal vendettas. Chapter 1033, Michael overpowers Noah. As the battle raged on, Michael's serpent mega fighting style proved to be an advantage, allowing him to gain the upper hand over Noah. His dark armor, with several runes, provided additional protection that surpassed even the sturdy dwarven-made armor worn by Noah. With a swift and devastating strike, Michael landed a powerful blow to Noah's jaw, stunning him. Seizing the opportunity, Michael firmly gripped Noah's face and forcefully drove his knee into Noah's already injured visage. The impact was jarring, causing Noah to stagger backward. Raising his hands, Michael conjured bolts of black lightning, crackling with raw power. The ominous energy surged from his fingertips, resembling twisted serpents as they streaked through the air with deadly accuracy. With a resounding impact, the bolt struck Noah, sending him hurtling downwards through the sky. When Noah descended, his body spiraling toward the ground, Michael unleashed his devastating meteor spell. Summoning the fiery might of the cosmos, he willed a blazing meteor to manifest, hurtling towards Noah with unstoppable force. The flaming celestial object blazed across the sky, leaving a trail of fiery residue in its wake as if the heavens themselves were igniting in anticipation. As the fiery meteor hurtled towards Noah, it left a scorching trail of orange hues across the darkened sky. Its sheer magnitude and radiance cast an eerie glow upon the battlefield below, capturing the attention of all who witnessed its descent. Soldiers locked in combat below paused, their expressions shifting from determination to awe as they looked up, their eyes widening in disbelief. The sight of the impending cataclysm was both mesmerizing and horrifying, as the fiery orb grew larger with each passing second, consuming the sky with its blazing brilliance. With an earth-shattering impact, the meteor crashed down upon Noah, engulfing him in a tempest of flames and debris. The force of the collision unleashed a shockwave that rippled through the air, sending tremors across the battlefield. The town below bore witness to the destructive power of the meteor, its impact decimating the structures in its path. Countless buildings crumbled and collapsed, reduced to nothing more than smoldering ruins. The intense heat melted metal and reduced stone to ash, leaving behind a scarred landscape of devastation. Noah's army, already engaged in a fierce battle with the undead forces, was caught off guard by the meteor's sudden arrival. The relentless onslaught of fire and destruction obliterated vast sections of the undead army, their bodies disintegrating under the overwhelming heat and force. The ground shook beneath their feet as the remnants of the meteor continued its destructive path, leaving a trail of desolation in its wake. Noah! Norvin's anguished cry echoed across the battlefield as he witnessed the catastrophic impact of the meteor on his comrade. Filled with desperation, he attempted to take to the skies, seeking to reach Noah's side. However, his path was abruptly halted by Gaia, who had assumed her fearsome Naga form. Leaving so soon? Gaia hissed, her serpentine tails coiling around Norvin, binding him tightly. Norvin struggled fiercely, desperately trying to break free from her grasp. But Gaia's strength was overwhelming, and her hold on him was unyielding. With a swift and forceful motion, Gaia propelled Norvin into the air, his body hurtling through the sky. In a seamless transition, Gaia transformed into her human form, her golden bow materializing in her hands. Without hesitation, she drew an arrow, her aim locked onto Norvin's vulnerable form. As the arrow found its mark, a devastating explosion engulfed Norvin, amplifying the impact of the attack. Despite the excruciating pain and the devastation surrounding him, Noah mustered the strength to rise from the wreckage caused by the meteor's impact. His eyes surveyed the destruction and loss of life, fueling a fit of deep-seated anger within him. Blood trickled down his wounds, staining his tattered armor, yet his resolve remained unyielding. With a firm grip and gritted teeth, Noah balled his hand into a tight fist, his anger coursing through his veins. Fueled by his newfound determination, he launched himself upward, soaring toward the darkened sky to confront his brother once more. In the mid-sky, the two brothers engaged in a fierce battle, their contrasting powers colliding with explosive force. Michael unleashed torrents of black lightning, crackling with malevolent energy, while dark beams erupted from his eyes, seeking to engulf Noah in darkness. With each strike, Michael displayed both his mastery of darkness and his raw physical strength. Noah, agile and determined, dodged and weaved through the onslaught, his movements guided by a mixture of instinct and years of combat experience. However, he couldn't evade every attack, as Michael's power overwhelmed him at times. Devastating blows landed upon Noah, pushing him to the brink of exhaustion and testing his resilience. But Noah wasn't defenseless. As Michael aimed his most powerful strikes, Noah summoned a shield of pure light, emanating from within him. The shield formed a radiant barrier, shimmering with divine energy, protecting him from the Dark Lord's onslaught. It absorbed the impact of Michael's attacks, providing Noah with crucial moments to counter and regain his footing. Amidst the intense battle, Michael taunted Noah with biting words. "You've always had everything handed to you, Noah. The privileged life, the support of others. It must be nice," he sneered, his voice laced with bitter resentment. "Meanwhile, I've had to fight tooth and nail for every ounce of power I possess. But no matter how much you try to stand against me, you'll always be in my shadow." Noah gritted his teeth, his determination burning even brighter. Ignoring Michael's taunts, he focused on his own inner strength and the memories of loved ones lost. With a surge of resolve, Noah summoned his light-infused fists and retaliated with a barrage of powerful strikes, each carrying the weight of his love and desire to protect. I think you should take a look at as the battle escalated, Michael's attacks grew increasingly ferocious, each strike fueled by his deep-rooted anger and resentment. His black lightning crackled with a more ominous intensity, arcing through the air with deadly precision. Dark beams shot from his eyes like piercing daggers, seeking to devour Noah's light. Noah fought valiantly, but the sheer force of Michael's onslaught took its toll. With each bone-crushing blow, Noah coughed up blood, his body pushed to its limits. He could feel his ribs cracking under the relentless assault, pain radiating through his entire being. Yet, he refused to yield, drawing strength from his unyielding determination. Through gritted teeth, Michael continued his taunts, his words dripping with scorn. "You think you're better than me, Noah. With your lavish life, your supporters. Let me tell you something. No one handed me anything. I was an orphan, fighting every second just to survive. I clawed my way up, surpassing every obstacle that stood in my path. I earned every ounce of power I possess." As Michael's words hung in the air, Noah's vision blurred, his body battered and bruised. But within him, a fire burned brighter than ever. Ignoring the searing pain, Noah summoned his remaining strength and launched a counterattack, his light-infused fists radiating with a renewed determination. The clash between the brothers intensified, a dance of light and darkness. Noah dodged and weaved, evading some of Michael's attacks with sheer reflexes, while others struck true, sending him hurtling through the air, his body crashing into debris with bone-crushing impacts. As Michael's attacks reached their apex, he abruptly halted, seizing Noah by the neck with a cruel grip. The air grew heavy with tension as Michael's dark eyes bore into Noah's, an expression of triumphant malice etched upon his face. Darkness always triumphs over light, Noah. Hardships always prevail over a lavish life, Michael sneered, his voice laced with a bitter satisfaction. With a sadistic grin, he unleashed a barrage of punches upon Noah's defenseless face, each blow resounding with bone-crunching impact. The force behind the strike sent Noah spiraling through the air, his body tossed like a rag doll. Noah's descent was swift and brutal, his body crashing into the ground with an earth-shattering thud. The impact was so intense that it created a sizable crater, the earth quivering beneath the force of his landing. Blood trickled from Noah's broken and battered form, mingling with the dirt and debris that surrounded him. Witnessing their leader being overpowered by the Dark Lord sent a chill racing through the ranks of Noah's army. The soldiers looked on in stunned disbelief, their resolve shaken by the sight of their champion being mercilessly beaten. A collective wave of unease swept through their ranks, their confidence waning as they struggled to comprehend the possibility of defeat. In contrast, the vampires of the Dark Lord's army reveled in their leader's dominance. Their cheers echoed through the battlefield, a chilling chorus of adulation for their malevolent master. Their eyes gleamed with fervor and anticipation, their loyalty unwavering as they relished in the impending triumph of darkness over light. As Norvin witnessed the brutal assault on Noah at the hands of the Dark Lord, a surge of primal rage coursed through his veins. His body underwent a remarkable transformation, growing in size and strength as he assumed his formidable ape form. With a thunderous roar that reverberated through the battlefield, he pounded his chest, a display of his indomitable spirit. Suddenly, a golden shield materialized around Norvin, shimmering with a protective aura. It deflected the barrage of arrows unleashed by Gaia, their deadly trajectory rendered futile against the impenetrable barrier. Norvin's defiant stance grew stronger as he stood undeterred, shielding himself from Gaia's relentless assault. Summoning his primal power, Norvin cast his gaze toward the sky, his eyes blazing with determination. An ethereal fist materialized, crackling with raw energy and divine might. With a resounding impact, he unleashed the devastating punch upon Gaia, an unstoppable force that connected with unrelenting power. The speed and strength of Norvin's punch were unparalleled, catching Gaia off guard. She was sent hurtling through the air, her body twisting and contorting in a violent arc. The impact resonated with an explosive shockwave, leaving a trail of shattered debris in its wake. But when Norvin soared towards Noah, ready to provide his much-needed aid, his path was suddenly intercepted by Eve, who unleashed her electrifying presence. With a mighty swing of her war hammer, lightning crackling and dancing around its formidable form, she struck Norvin square in the face. The impact reverberated through the air, unleashing shockwaves that rippled across the battlefield. Staggered by the forceful blow, Norvin struggled to maintain his balance. Before he could fully recover, Eve swiftly closed the distance between them, relentlessly pursuing him through the sky. In a calculated move, she hurled her hammer with pinpoint accuracy, aiming straight at Norvin's chest. The hammer collided with his torso, delivering a bone-crushing blow that further weakened his resolve. As the battle raged on, the tides began to shift in favor of the Dark Lord. The combined might of Michael, Gaia, and Eve proved to be a formidable force that threatened to overwhelm Noah's army. The dark powers at their disposal grew more potent with each passing moment, casting an ominous shadow over the battlefield. Noah's forces, once filled with determination and hope, now faced the grim reality of an impending defeat. The Dark Lord's influence permeated the air, sending chills down the spines of Noah's soldiers. Chapter 1034, Norvin's death. Michael hovered in the air, his gaze fixed upon Noah, waiting for the opportune moment when he would unleash the devastating power of the god-killing arrows. Deep within his system storage, Michael held 2 of these lethal weapons, while Noah possessed the remaining 5. The Dark Lord yearned for the day when he could claim all 7 arrows, an outcome that would seal Noah's fate once and for all. Yet, Noah refrained from reaching for the arrows. He recognized that he struggled to gain the upper hand in his relentless battle against Michael. The skies above were dominated by their fierce clash, while on the ground below, a grim spectacle unfolded. The once vibrant river town now resembled a desolate battlefield, scarred by the ravages of war. Broken buildings lay in ruins, their skeletal structures testament to the power of Michael's meteor spell that had crashed upon the earth. Lava oozed through the cracks, intertwining with smoldering rocks, casting an eerie glow upon the surroundings. The air was thick with the acrid scent of smoke and the haunting stench of death. Amidst the chaos, the undead army clashed with Noah's valiant beastmen and angels. Limbs of the undead littered the scorched landscape, while the fallen bodies of brave soldiers bore witness to the brutality of the conflict. Blood stained the once pristine streets, painting a grim tableau of sacrifice and suffering. As the intensity of the battle escalated, a glimmer of hope emerged amidst the chaos. Norvin, with his towering ape-like form, began to turn the tide in his skirmish against Eve and Gaia. With each swing of his powerful limbs, Norvin unleashed a barrage of blows upon his adversaries. His sheer size and strength granted him an advantage, allowing him to withstand the onslaught of the 2 formidable opponents. The ground trembled beneath Norvin's weight as he matched their every move. Eve, with her lightning-infused hammer, clashed against Norvin's unyielding defense. Bolts of electricity crackled in the air, illuminating the fierce exchange. However, Norvin's resilience proved to be a formidable shield, deflecting the onslaught of attacks with a golden barrier that enveloped him, repelling the lightning strikes. Gaia on the other hand unleashed a flurry of arrows, aiming to pierce Norvin's defenses and weaken his resolve. But to her surprise, her projectiles met an impenetrable barrier, shimmering with a radiant golden glow. As Norvin's fist collided with Gaia, the clash drew Michael's attention. With a swift determination, he closed the distance between himself and Norvin, disregarding Noah's presence. Norvin, standing tall at 15 feet, taunted Michael, "Fight me head-on instead of sending your women to do a man's job." Ignoring the taunts, Michael landed before Norvin, summoning his bone-chilling war hammer, the Doomsbringer. The frigid aura radiating from the hammer caused the temperature to drop significantly. Michael declared with cold determination, "I should finish what nightmare started," Michael said coldly, his voice carrying an air of determination. With synchronized movements, both Michael and Norvin leaped into the air, their bodies poised for battle. Norvin swung his massive ape-like fist towards Michael, meeting the cold, unyielding metal head of the Doomsbringer. Norvin's hand instantly went numb upon impact, but he didn't falter. In response, Michael's eyes ignited with dark flames, and he unleashed a barrage of dark beams from his gaze. A golden shield appeared around Norvin, attempting to defend against the relentless assault. However, the shield began to crack under the overwhelming power of the dark beams, and within moments, it shattered completely. Undeterred, Norvin mustered his strength and seized the war hammer as Michael attempted another strike. In a desperate effort, Norvin delivered a powerful headbutt towards Michael. But to his astonishment, the Dark Lord remained unyielding, displaying his formidable resilience. Michael retaliated with a forceful jump, headbutting Norvin with equal intensity, causing the ground to tremble beneath them. The impact sent Norvin hurtling through the ground, leaving a trail of destruction in his wake. Noah lay unconscious, buried beneath the rubble of shattered buildings. Meanwhile, Michael remained completely focused on Norvin, his anger burning within him. The death of his pet dragon, Nightmare, had ignited a fiery rage within Michael. The news of Nightmare's demise had stirred the emotions of those around him. Gaia wreaked havoc upon her own kingdom, Vidora nearly destroyed the Dark Castle in a fit of anger, and Claire and others wept openly. But Michael, devoid of tears, channeled his anger into a fierce determination. It fueled his every move as he dashed towards Norvin. With intense purpose, Michael landed before Norvin, gripping him tightly by his fur before hurling him towards Noah's army, locked in battle against the relentless undead. Above them, one of the intense light orbs shattered, causing the brightness to diminish. Michael glanced upwards, recognizing that Eve had successfully disabled one of the light orbs hidden beneath the dome. As Norvin crashed into a building, reducing it to rubble, Gaia unleashed a relentless barrage of explosive arrows from the sky, further injuring him. Undeterred, Michael, wielding the Doomsbringer, swiftly closed the distance and planted himself firmly upon Norvin's chest. "Now, look into my eyes and taunt me," Michael coldly demanded of Norvin. Rather than responding with words, Norvin emitted a thunderous roar, the sheer force of it causing Michael's hair to be blown back. Yet, Michael stood resolute upon Norvin's chest. "I think you should take a look at," raising his Doomsbringer with intent to strike a final blow. Michael's actions were suddenly interrupted by the distant firing of a powerful cannonball. The resounding boom of the cannon drowned out even the fiercest thunderclap, as the fiery projectile soared through the air. The dwarves stood together, their eyes fixed on the unfolding battle between the Dark Lord and their comrades. Their hands trembled slightly as they prepared the powerful cannonball once again, their minds filled with a mix of determination and uncertainty. "Fire the cannon. Let's blast that Dark Lord to oblivion," one dwarf exclaimed, his voice filled with both hope and anxiety. Another dwarf, however, expressed doubts. "Are we making a terrible mistake? The Dark Lord is no ordinary foe. We may have just drawn his attention towards us." A third dwarf chimed in, "It's true. What can we possibly do against a being at the half-celestial stage? Our cannon is mighty, but it may not be enough to stop him." Yet, amidst their wavering thoughts, one dwarf raised his voice, his eyes fixed on Noah, still lying motionless amidst the chaos. "Noah, wake up. This is your chance to fight back against the Dark Lord. Rise and show him the strength of your resolve." The dwarves exchanged concerned glances, their hearts heavy with worry. They understood the immense challenge that lay before them, but they refused to give in to despair. To their utter disbelief, Michael effortlessly caught the fiery cannonball, reducing it to a mere pile of ash with a tight grip. The dwarves watched in stunned silence as their mighty weapon was rendered useless. The weight of their defeat settled upon their shoulders. Michael's gaze shifted upwards, locking onto Gaia, and with a chilling nonchalance, he commanded, "Kill them all." His voice reverberated through the battlefield, sending shivers down the spines of the dwarves. They turned their gaze towards the distant sky, where lightning flashed behind the Dark Queen, revealing the ominous shadow of a colossal cobra, a testament to her true Naga form. Meanwhile, Norvin, with all his might, tried to dislodge Michael from his chest. However, his efforts were in vain as Michael remained steadfast and immovable. Norvin clenched his fists, summoning ethereal manifestations that pummeled Michael relentlessly from both sides. Yet, Michael showed no sign of yielding, his unwavering stance challenging Norvin's futile attempts. With the Doomsbringer raised high, Michael taunted Norvin, "I will bring Nightmare back from the depths of hell, but Noah won't be able to bring you back." Norvin's roars filled the air as his ethereal fists continued to assault Michael without effect. But Michael remained unperturbed. As the realization of his impending defeat dawned upon him, Norvin slowly turned his gaze towards the rubble where Noah lay buried. Tears welled in his eyes as he faced Michael once more, his voice filled with sorrow. "You were able to defeat Noah because, deep down, he still sees you as his brother," Norvin revealed. Gaia, relentless in her slaughter of the dwarves, prevented any futile resistance while Eve continued her destructive mission to dismantle the remaining light orbs. As a result, darkness encroached upon the battlefield, slowly consuming all in its path. "My death will break that bone and bring back the Noah who went around killing his enemies left and right," Norvin snickered, embracing his impending demise without a trace of fear. Michael parted his lips as if poised to utter something but then closed them again. In the next moment, a shocking and heart-wrenching event unfolded before their eyes. Without hesitation, Michael brought down the Doomsbringer upon Norvin's head, caving in his mighty ape skull. Blood and fragments of bone sprayed across the battlefield, painting a gruesome scene. Norvin's body convulsed while Michael stood amidst the carnage, drenched in Norvin's crimson lifeblood. The sight of Norvin's cruel demise struck Noah's army with a paralyzing shock, freezing them in disbelief and despair. As if the shocking events weren't enough, Michael activated his soul-eating skill, his eyes glowing with a sinister light. A wispy, white smoke began to emanate from Norvin's lifeless body, slowly snaking its way toward Michael's open mouth. This ethereal smoke carried Norvin's soul and life energy, a macabre feast for the Dark Lord. With each passing moment, Norvin's once mighty form began to shrink and wither, like a wilting flower drained of its essence. In a matter of mere moments, Norvin's body transformed into a desiccated mummy, a hollow shell devoid of life. The sight sent a chill through the hearts of Noah's army as they witnessed the terrifying display of Michael's power, his ability to consume the very essence of a fallen warrior. It was a chilling reminder of the depths of darkness that Michael was capable of descending into. Now this is a feast befitting the Dark Lord, Michael's voice resonated, his once human tone now twisted and steeped in darkness. His words echoed through the battlefield, spreading an ominous aura that chilled the very air. The sinister quality of his voice alone was enough to send shivers down the spines of the remaining beastmen and dwarves. Gripped by a paralyzing fear, some dropped their weapons and fled from the scene in a state of sheer panic. Their desperate cries filled the air as they ran, their only thought to escape the encroaching darkness that surrounded them. Chapter 1035. Noah's ultimate form unconscious and buried beneath a pile of debris, Noah's body began to heal itself, unaware of the tragic fate that had befallen his beloved pet Norvin at the hands of the Dark Lord. Memories of happier times flooded Noah's mind, vivid flashes of moments spent with his wife Alicia and cherished family memories. One memory, in particular, played over and over in his thoughts, an idyllic scene where Alicia and Norvin sat on either side of Noah, their faces filled with joy as they watched the sunset in the serene azure continent. Alicia's gentle embrace enveloped Noah, her head resting upon his shoulder, while the young Norvin, a baby golden bobberoo at the time, curled up on Noah's lap, peacefully asleep. These precious moments were etched in Noah's heart. However, the serenity of the memory abruptly shifted, turning dark and foreboding. Alicia's tear-filled eyes stared up at Noah, blood streaming from them. In a cruel twist, Alicia slowly faded away from his recollection, leaving Noah powerless to halt the mortifying transformation. Norvin, too, awoke from his slumber in the memory, only to vanish before Noah's eyes. Noah gazed up at the sky, witnessing the vibrant orange hues of the once painted light gradually darkening. His eyes traced the ominous formation of clouds taking shape, morphing into the distinct skull symbol associated with the Dark Lord. The reality of his situation tore through Noah's being, wrenching him from the pleasant memories he had cherished, transforming them into a haunting nightmare brought forth by the Dark Lord's malevolence. As Noah gradually regained consciousness, the tides of war shifted in favor of the Dark Lord, Michael. Without the presence of Noah and Norvin, the two strongest warriors, Noah's army found themselves on the losing end. Despite the valiant efforts of the Sky Hall Angels, the relentless undead forces and their lethal allies, the bloaters, began to overwhelm and decimate their ranks. Meanwhile, Eve relentlessly continued her mission of destroying the light orbs. Each orb shattered under the weight of her mighty blows, plunging the battlefield into ever-deepening darkness. Gaia, in her Naga form, soared through the sky, emitting a poisonous green mist that tainted the air. With a fiery arrow in hand, she unleashed a devastating explosion that reduced buildings to ashes and reverberated with a deafening roar throughout the river town. The destruction caused by their combined efforts cast a grim shadow over the once vibrant river town. "Wake up, Noah," Noah heard his mentor Andreas' voice in his head. "The Dark Lord killed Norvin, Noah. You must wake up and avenge him." As Noah's consciousness began to stir, he heard the familiar voice of his mentor, Andreas, resonating in his mind, urging him to wake up and seek vengeance for Norvin's death at the hands of the Dark Lord. Meanwhile, Eve, determined to disrupt the Noah's plans, hurled her hammer towards what appeared to be an empty patch of ground. However, upon impact, the illusion surrounding the area shattered, revealing a group of dwarves and Sky Hall angels fervently guarding a pulsating energy orb. The orb emitted a radiant and intense light, serving as a beacon of hope amidst the encroaching darkness. In a state of panic and shock, the dwarves exclaimed, their voices filled with urgency and disbelief. The illusions, they've been shattered. Protect the orb at all costs. In a display of unity, the half-immortal Sky Hall angels swiftly took flight, soaring through the sky with grace and purpose. Their ethereal forms glistened with celestial light as they positioned themselves between Eve and the pulsating energy of the orb. 3 Sky Hall angels, their power amplified by their half-immortal status, unleashed spells upon Eve. The first angel channeled their energy into a swirling vortex of ice shards that streaked through the air, aiming to freeze Eve's movements. The second angel summoned bolts of lightning that crackled and danced, electrifying the atmosphere and threatening to engulf Eve in a storm of electricity. The third angel, their voice resonating with divine authority, invoked a radiant beam of pure light, searing through the darkness and seeking to cleanse the malevolent forces that surrounded them. The spells collided with a dazzling spectacle, creating a symphony of elemental power that illuminated the sky. Each spell carried its own unique appearance and effect, showcasing the immense strength and determination of the Sky Hall angels. Despite Eve's formidable strength at the half-immortal stage level 3, facing 3 Sky Hall angels and their combined spells proved to be a formidable challenge. The spells surged through the sky, aiming directly at Eve. She swiftly swung her hammer in a circular motion, creating a protective shield that deflected the icy shards launched by the first angel. However, her quick reflexes weren't enough to evade the lightning bolts cast by the second angel, which struck her back. "Ah!" Eve cried out in pain, blood staining her lips as she coughed uncontrollably. Before the third angel's radiant beam could reach her, Gaia intervened, assuming her Naga form and coiling protectively around Eve. The beam collided with Gaia's sturdy scales, shielding Eve from its full impact. As the spells dissipated, Gaia released Eve from her embrace and transformed back into her human form. Her sudden appearance shifted the tide of the battle, instilling a newfound confidence. "Didn't your angel mama teach you that it's wrong to bully a girl?" Gaia taunted, her voice laced with amusement. "I think you should take a look at, she's just a bitch, just like you, a whore and an abomination for marrying the Dark Lord," one of the angels retorted, attempting to provoke Gaia. Instead of becoming angered, Gaia laughed. To her, these angels were nothing but pitiful fools, destined for their imminent demise. "How embarrassing it must be for you 3 to meet your end at the hands of a so-called bitch and whore," Gaia sneered, reveling in her superiority. With a sudden burst of speed, she lunged at the 2 half-immortal angels, leaving one for Eve to face. Gaia's incredible swiftness caught the angels off guard. During Michael's absence in Destinies, Gaia had discovered and absorbed an energy deposit, fueling her powers to unprecedented heights. The surge of energy unleashed her hidden potential, enhancing her strength, speed, and raw power to extraordinary levels. As Gaia faced off against the 2 half-immortal Sky Hall angels, she tapped into her newly amplified powers. Poisonous energy surged through her veins, empowering her spells with a venomous touch. With a graceful flick of her hand, she unleashed a cloud of toxic mist, enveloping her opponents. The mist coiled around the angels, corroding their strength and sapping their vitality. Undeterred, the first angel retaliated with a spell of his own. He summoned ethereal chains, forged from divine light, which shot towards Gaia with blinding speed. But Gaia's agility allowed her to dodge and weave through the intricate network of chains, avoiding their restrictive grip. Meanwhile, the second angel unleashed a barrage of radiant arrows, each one imbued with holy energy. Gaia swiftly evaded the arrows, her nimble movements akin to a dance in the sky. She retaliated by drawing her golden bow and firing back with arrows infused with her own potent magic. Each arrow found its mark, causing explosive bursts of energy upon impact. The clash between Gaia and the Sky Hall Angels shook the battlefield. Buildings crumbled beneath their powerful spells, reducing Noah's army and the undead horde to mere collateral damage in their fierce confrontation. The ground quaked as shock waves rippled through the once serene town, leaving trails of destruction in their wake. Amidst this chaos, Eve engaged in her own aerial duel with the remaining Sky Hall Angel. Bolts of lightning crackled from her hammer, surging through the sky with dazzling brilliance. She summoned storms of electricity, their raw power threatening to tear the heavens asunder. The angel countered with shields of divine energy, attempting to deflect the electrifying onslaught. Thunderous clashes echoed through the air as their spells collided, illuminating the darkened sky. The battle between Gaia, Eve, and the Sky Hall Angels transcended mere physical combat. It became a clash of elemental forces, their powers intertwining and creating an awe-inspiring spectacle. Their ferocity and determination knew no bounds as they fought with all their might, unleashing devastation upon the once peaceful river town. In the midst of the chaos, the battlefield became a chaotic maelstrom of destruction. The combined forces of Noah's army and the undead horde were caught in the crossfire, their ranks scattered and decimated by the overwhelming power unleashed by the combatants. The ground was scarred with the remnants of their spells, and the air was heavy with the scent of burning debris and swirling energy. Amidst the raging battle, a sudden explosion shattered the debris above Noah with a resounding boom. A blinding light erupted from the very spot where Noah had been buried, forcing everyone to shield their eyes. The radiant glow that emanated from Noah's being enveloped the entire battlefield, casting an ethereal brilliance upon the chaos. Unbeknownst to Michael, who observed from the sky, the near-death experience and the profound loss of his loved ones had awakened a dormant power within Noah. The fury and anguish coursing through his veins fueled his transformation, granting him unimaginable strength and a newfound determination to confront the Dark Lord. Little did Michael know, in that very moment, that the brink of death had unleashed a wellspring of power within Noah, as it did for all gods and beings above the mortal realm. The revelation that near-death experiences could grant unimaginable strength remained a secret to Michael, and Noah was about to prove that he was no exception to this extraordinary phenomenon. As Noah ascended, radiant and empowered, Michael braced himself for the ultimate clash between the two brothers, unaware of the true magnitude of Noah's newfound abilities. Noah slowly ascended from the ground, his entire form radiating with the intensity of the blinding light. Michael recognized the change unfolding before his eyes, realizing that Noah had tapped into his ultimate potential. Floating in the sky, Michael prepared himself to confront Noah in this newfound, ultimate form. Ghost! Noah's voice reverberated through the battlefield, resonating with a force that surpassed mere sound. His powerful shout unleashed a shockwave, obliterating everything in its path. The once ruined buildings crumbled to dust, and both Noah's army and the undead were thrown into disarray by the sheer force of the shout. Even Gaia, Eve, and the Sky Hall Angels were forcefully brought down from the sky, crashing onto the ground below. Somewhere beyond the chaos of the battlefield, Neela, one of Noah's loyal and trusted friends, guided Olivia toward the epicenter of the battle. Olivia, an alchemist and Michael's former student, carried the weight of 2 god-killing arrows entrusted to her by Noah himself. Their arrival could potentially tip the scales in this cataclysmic conflict. Chapter 1036, Using the god-killing arrows, Noah emerged from the debris, his radiant form shining like a miniature sun. The darkness that Eve had cast upon the battlefield with the destruction of the light orbs was instantly dispelled by Noah's presence. He exuded an undeniable aura of the god of light, absorbing the arch and celestial energy that surrounded him. With this surge of power, the energy dome encasing Rivertown cracked and shattered, unable to contain Noah's divine might. Meanwhile, Michael activated the death range, causing the surrounding area to plunge into darkness. Storm clouds roiled above him, unleashing thunderous claps and torrential rain. The opposing forces of intense light and pitch-black darkness clashed, setting the stage for the ultimate battle between the god of light and the god of darkness. Noah's gaze fell upon the mummified remains of Norvin, lying lifeless on the ground below Michael. A profound anger welled up within Noah, resonating with a powerful hum that reverberated throughout the battlefield. The sound was so intense that it caused everyone, including Eve and Gaia, to cover their ears in agony. The impact was immense, knocking the beastmen, vampires, and all airborne fighters to the ground, their bodies trembling in response. The humming sound triggered a chaotic response from the undead. The alpha undead lost control over their minions, unleashing a bloodthirsty frenzy. The undead charged recklessly, attacking the Sky Hall angels, beastmen, dwarves, and anyone unfortunate enough to be in their path. However, just as the undead were about to descend upon Noah's army, a shockwave emanated from Noah's body, altering the very fabric of gravity in the battlefield. Suddenly, the undead and other combatants were rendered weightless, suspended in mid-air, their movements suspended by this extraordinary force. That is a surprising power. Michael remained calm and composed, unfazed by the gravity-altering power unleashed by Noah. As a god himself, the fluctuating forces had no effect on him. Hovering in the sky, their eyes locked, the contrast between Noah's boiling anger and Michael's unwavering composure was stark. The radiance surrounding Noah concealed the turmoil brewing within him, leaving Michael unaware of the changes beneath the surface. With a taunting tone, Michael goaded Noah, "What are you waiting for, Noah?" However, before his words could dissipate, Noah vanished from his position, reappearing behind Michael in a blink. An instinctual jolt surged through Michael as he felt the hairs on the back of his neck stand on end. Reacting swiftly, he activated his lightning dash, swiftly evading Noah's incoming punch by mere inches. Noah's fist struck the empty air, releasing a shockwave of incredible force that dispersed the storm clouds, revealing the resplendent moon and stars once more. Michael had little time to react as Noah immediately lunged at him once again. The clash between their powers created an extraordinary phenomenon in the sky, where light and darkness wrestled for dominance, casting an eerie gray hue over the battlefield. The opposing forces struggled to overpower each other, but their equilibrium remained unbroken. Amidst the clash, Noah's sole focus was on his consuming rage, his determination to kill his brother, the Dark Lord, unwavering. A fleeting foxy smile graced Michael's face before swiftly vanishing in the heat of battle. "I'm going to end your life." Noah's enraged scream echoed through the air as he relentlessly unleashed a barrage of punches. Some strikes found their mark on Michael's body, causing bones to crack under the force. However, thanks to the advanced healing properties of his APD-integrated armor, restorative potions coursed through Michael's bloodstream, mending his injuries in real time. A wicked smirk formed on Michael's lips as he taunted, "What happened to your no-kill rule?" With lightning-fast reflexes, he caught Noah's incoming fist mid-air, countering with a rapid series of punches to Noah's gut. Raising his hand, Michael unleashed a deadly combination of lightning and dark flames, propelling Noah through the air. Blood trickled from Noah's mouth as he was engulfed by the luminous aura surrounding him, yet he remained undeterred, dashing towards Michael once more. Noah charged with a thunderous roar, his mouth aglow with radiant light. As he bellowed, the light erupted from his gaping maw, materializing into a colossal ethereal dragon crafted from pure luminosity. The sight of the magnificent dragon stunned all onlookers, their attention drawn skyward. The beast's ferocious roar resounded through the battlefield as it soared towards Michael, jaws poised to snap shut. Undeterred by the imminent threat, Michael, the god of darkness, demonstrated his unwavering prowess. In the face of such battles, he pushed his limits, honing his skills to perfection. Seizing the moment, Michael activated Selenis, causing time to slow down within his vicinity. Swiftly ascending into the sky, he soared above the luminous dragon before diving with the Doomsbringer gripped tightly in his hand. With a resounding impact, the Doombringer collided forcefully with the dragon's head, unleashing a deafening clap of thunder that reverberated across the battlefield. The shockwave annihilated countless trees in a half-mile radius, leaving destruction in its wake. With the cracking of the dragon's head, Noah seized the opportunity and sprang into action. Summoning swords forged from pure light and radiant flames, he prepared to face Michael head-on. Sensing the impending danger, Michael swiftly hurled his Doomsbringer towards Noah, who deftly evaded the incoming attack. Simultaneously, Michael extended his hands towards the ground, causing the dark swords to tremble before launching them skyward. The clash between the two godly forces intensified as Noah unleashed lightning-fast sword strikes, pushing himself to the limits of his speed and agility. Undeterred, Michael tapped into the full potential of Seleni's, slowing down time within his bubble of influence. Yet even in this slowed-down state, Noah's movements remained lightning-quick, making it a formidable challenge for Michael to evade his onslaught. "I think you should take a look at." Amidst the flurry of sword slashes, Noah managed to land a cut on Michael's shoulder. Although the armor absorbed most of the blow, the searing light flames managed to breach the defenses, leaving a burning wound that elicited a grimace from Michael. Recognizing the need for a decisive move, Michael made a calculated risk. He intentionally allowed Noah's sword to slice across his chest, using the opportunity to grab hold of Noah's wrists. Locked in a fierce face-off, the two brothers exerted their godly strength against one another, their eyes locked in a battle of wills. Regret seeping through his voice, Noah gritted his teeth as he spoke to Michael. The realization of his mistake lingered in his words. "I made a mistake by letting you live. I regret that." With a snicker, Michael taunted Noah, reveling in his change of heart. "Attaboy, now you realize you shouldn't let your enemies live. I am glad you are finally seeing things." Determined to make his point, Noah retorted, "You are not my enemy. You are a curse to the whole world." Unleashing his frustration, Noah launched a powerful headbutt towards Michael, who in turn cracked his neck and reciprocated with a headbutt of his own. As the two brothers clashed, each headbutt sent shockwaves rippling through the sky, cracking the ground beneath them. In the midst of their confrontation, Neela and Olivia soared through the sky, witnessing the cataclysmic battle between two godly beings. Olivia carried the two god-killing arrows entrusted to her by Noah, a strategic move to prevent the Dark Lord from gaining complete control. In a split second, the dark swords defied the gravity distortion caused by Noah's power. Sensing the opening, Michael released Noah's wrists, swiftly grasping one of the dark swords and driving it into Noah's gut. Simultaneously, a sharp pain surged through Michael's own abdomen, realizing that Noah had retaliated by plunging a sword into his own gut. The momentary stillness was shattered by the intensity of their shared pain. A searing pain tore through their stomachs, causing blood to trickle down the darkened sky. Ominous thunders rumbled and lightning streaks illuminated the battlefield. From his castle, Andor sensed the weakening of the barrier and erupted into maniacal laughter, hoping that the god of darkness and god of light would destroy each other, shattering the barrier that kept him from reaching the realm of gods. With a firm grip on their swords, Michael and Noah drove the blades deeper into each other's bodies. In a desperate move, Michael raised his other hand, releasing a dense cloud of poison from a contraption built into his palm. The noxious fumes engulfed Noah's face, momentarily disorienting him and giving Michael an opportunity to grasp the second dark sword suspended in the air. However, before the second blade could find its mark, Olivia appeared unexpectedly, seizing Michael's hand. With tear-filled eyes and a voice filled with regret, Olivia addressed her teacher, "I am sorry, teacher." Neela, who had brought Olivia to the battlefield, witnessed the anguish in Olivia's expression. It was clear that betraying her teacher pained Olivia to the core. Taking advantage of the distraction caused by Olivia's intervention, Noah swiftly flicked his wrist, producing a god-killing arrow. With a resolute determination, he plunged the arrow through Michael's heart, dealing a decisive blow. As the god-killing arrow pierced through Michael's heart, a deafening thunderclap reverberated through the air, causing the entire world to tremble in response. The oceans, once restless with crashing waves, stilled in an eerie silence, as if paying homage to the monumental moment taking place above. In the midst of the charged atmosphere, lightning bolts erupted across the darkened sky, illuminating the heavens with their brilliant flashes. The bolts crackled with raw energy, as if mirroring the intense clash between light and darkness unfolding before the eyes of gods and mortals alike. It was a sight that struck awe and fear into the hearts of those who witnessed it. With the god of darkness struck by the god-killing arrow, a profound stillness settled over the battlefield. In a surge of determination, Noah seized another god-killing arrow and swiftly plunged it through Michael's gut, deepening the wound. As the arrow tore through flesh and sinew, a visceral spray of blood erupted from Michael's gut, splashing across the sky in a macabre display. The crimson liquid tainted his lips, trickling down his mouth in a chilling stream. Michael's eyes widened, a mix of agony and disbelief flickering within them. The pain coursed through his body, intensifying with each passing moment. Yet, despite the torment, a sinister smile twisted across his face, a cruel testament to his indomitable spirit. Note, continue reading and I promise you what you feel will turn into goosebumps. Chapter 1037, What Really Happened? Part 1. An error occurred while reading the file. Could not find file/data/www/pand_novel_py/used_emails. txt. Despite the torment inflicted upon him by the two god-killing arrows, Michael's indomitable will and resilience shone through. With a surge of strength, he gripped Noah by the neck, his fingers tightening around the vulnerable flesh. In an act of defiance, he headbutted Noah with a resounding thud, followed by a swift kick to the chest that propelled Noah through the sky, his body hurtling away from the battlefield. "I am sorry, teacher," with Olivia trembling in fear before him, Michael's gaze bore into her, a mixture of anger and disappointment etched across his blood-streaked face. Olivia stammered an apology, her voice trembling as she struggled to find the right words. The weight of her betrayal weighed heavily upon her, overshadowed by the impending threat to her life. In the midst of the chaos, Gaia, the relentless Naga warrior, fought against the enhanced gravity, her fierce determination allowing her to defy its oppressive force. Though her attempts to ascend into the sky were met with resistance, she refused to yield, her determination unyielding. Meanwhile, the two god-killing arrows embedded within Michael's body began to emit a radiant glow, their power sapping away his strength. The intensity of their radiance mirrored the diminishing might of the Dark Lord, causing Noah to launch himself at Michael once more. Yet, this time, Michael's agility proved superior as he deftly evaded Noah's punch, delivering a stinging slap across Noah's face that left him disoriented. "I don't want your sorry. I want your life," Michael growled menacingly at Olivia, his grip on her neck tightening, cutting off her air supply. Desperation flooded her eyes as her legs thrashed in a futile attempt to free herself from his grasp. As Olivia's life hung in the balance, Noah unleashed a brilliant beam of light, infused with his waning strength, directly at Michael's chest. The unexpected attack struck true, accompanied by the piercing pain of a third god-killing arrow that pierced Michael's back. Michael's gaze shifted, his eyes slowly taking in the sight of Sabrina, tears streaming down her face as she stood before him. "I had no choice," Sabrina murmured through her sorrow, her voice laced with regret and sadness. The collective forces of the Sky Hall Angels and Noah's army, witnessing the fading power of the Dark Lord, were filled with renewed hope and anticipation. With the third god-killing arrow embedded within his form, Michael plummeted from the sky, crashing into the ground below, leaving behind a gaping crater as testament to the immense power unleashed in their final confrontation. Upon Michael's impact with the ground, the chaotic forces that had distorted gravity returned to normal. Gaia and Eve wasted no time, swiftly closing in on Michael's fallen form. However, their advance was met with opposition as a group of Sky Hall Angels encircled them, their determination evident. Just as the situation seemed dire, a monstrous being materialized behind the Sky Hall Angels, a grotesque creature composed of pulsating blood. With a vicious lunge, the beast attacked, attempting to overpower the encircling angels. In that crucial moment, Saber landed between Eve and the encircling angels, taking a defensive stance. "Go to the Dark Lord." Saber commanded Eve, his voice filled with determination as he prepared to fend off the advancing Skyhall angels. Sabrina and Olivia, their eyes filled with tears, witnessed the descent of the Dark Lord with heavy hearts. For Olivia, the Dark Lord had been a mentor who had nurtured her talents in alchemy, shaping her into the accomplished 5-star alchemist she had become. For Sabrina, he was not only a brother to Noah but also a brother to her. Yet, as she had been compelled to betray him, wielding the god-killing arrow to protect her family. The Skyhall angels, observing the rapid decline of the Dark Lord's power from the half-celestial stage to the immortal stage, recognized the opportunity to strike. With the god-killing arrow still embedded within his body, the Dark Lord's strength waned with each passing moment. Seizing the moment, several Skyhall angels and beastmen surged forward, their fervor undeterred. The undead army and the vampires, loyal to their lord, rallied to defend him, creating a chaotic clash of forces. Even as the undead army and vampires moved to defend their lord, a fraction of the Skyhall angels and beastmen managed to breach the defenses. Together, they unleashed a barrage of powerful spells, their combined forces converging upon Michael with lethal intent. The air crackled with unleashed energy as the spells surged towards their target, seeking to overwhelm the weakened Dark Lord. As the Skyhall angels and beastmen closed in on the fallen Dark Lord, they unleashed their devastating spells with a fierce determination. Blazing orbs of fire streaked through the air, exploding upon impact and engulfing the surroundings in searing flames. Arcs of lightning crackled and danced, striking the ground with electrifying force. Spears of ice materialized in mid-air, hurtling towards their target with deadly precision. Yet, as the onslaught of spells descended upon the Dark Lord, a pale blue shield manifested around him. This shield shimmered with a protective aura, absorbing the majority of the spell's destructive power. It flickered with resilience, deflecting the onslaught and mitigating the damage inflicted upon the wounded Dark Lord. Simultaneously, the Skyhall angels and beastmen who managed to reach the Dark Lord engaged in close-quarters combat. Their blades clashed with his armor, creating sparks that illuminated the darkened battlefield. The Skyhall angels, with their celestial wings, swooped down, delivering swift strikes with their celestial blades. The beastmen, with their fierce strength and agility, lunged and pounced, attempting to overwhelm the weakened Dark Lord. Amidst the chaotic clash, the Dark Lord evaded some of the attacks with fluid grace, swiftly parrying and countering their advances. His movements, though impaired by the god-killing arrows lodged within him, carried a lingering threat. With each strike, he fought back, retaliating with a combination of brute force and calculated precision. His strikes were swift and accurate, as if driven by a primal instinct to survive. However, some attacks managed to breach the Dark Lord's defenses, finding their mark upon his vulnerable form. His armor, stained with his own blood, offered diminishing protection as his strength waned. Each blow intensified the pain coursing through his body, threatening to sap his remaining vitality. "I think you should take a look at." Amidst the chaotic clash, the voices of the Skyhall angels and beastmen echoed through the battlefield. "Press the attack. He's weakening. Strike harder. Don't let him recover. He cannot withstand our combined might." As the battle reached its climax, Noah, consumed by pure rage, unleashed a barrage of catastrophic spells. Chains of radiant light materialized beside him, shooting forth with incredible speed to ensnare the Dark Lord. Simultaneously, a majestic winged lion, forged from pure light, materialized and lunged at Michael with fierce determination. The third spell Noah conjured resembled Michael's devastating meteor spell, but instead of fiery projectiles, Noah summoned 3 spheres of scorching light enveloped in radiant flames. The combined force of these spells struck Michael simultaneously, causing a tremendous explosion that sent shockwaves rippling through the battlefield. The resulting dust storm engulfed the area, obscuring the view and disorienting both armies. Seizing the opportunity, Noah summoned the remaining god-killing arrows, a manifestation of his determination to end the Dark Lord's life. Hands made of brilliant light materialized around Noah, each grasping a god-killing arrow. With the arrows in his possession, Noah descended from the sky, his intent clear, to deliver the final blow to the Dark Lord. Amidst the chaos, a sudden explosion of lightning illuminated the battlefield where Eve was locked in combat. Witnessing the overwhelming assault on her best friend, the Dark Lord, Eve's fury ignited within her. Her anger transformed into an intense surge of power as she leaped into the air, descending upon the ground with her hammer poised to strike. The resulting shockwaves sent her adversaries hurtling through the air, their bodies flung aside with great force. Meanwhile, Saber, leading his vampire forces, charged at the surrounding Sky Hall angels and beastmen, proving himself to be an exceptionally formidable opponent. With every drop of blood he consumed, Saber's strength and speed increased exponentially, turning him into an unstoppable force on the battlefield. On the other hand, Gaia surged forward like an unstoppable force, leaving a trail of devastation in her wake. Her ferocity knew no bounds as she tore through the ranks of the Sky Hall angels and beastmen, their bodies no match for her ruthless onslaught. Limbs were ripped apart, and the ground became drenched in a macabre display of blood and shattered wings. The piercing cries of Gaia's victims reverberated across the battlefield, a haunting testament to her unrestrained power. However, as Gaia neared the area where Noah's spells had struck, Noah clenched his hands together, conjuring a luminous orb of light. The pulsating sphere radiated with escalating energy, growing more potent with each passing moment. With a swift motion, Noah hurled the orb toward Gaia, and upon impact with the ground, it erupted in a cataclysmic explosion. Witnessing the devastating attack on her dear friend, Eve's heartache transformed into an eruption of anger. She sprinted toward Gaia, her voice roaring with defiance. But the Sky Hall angels capitalized on the distraction, converging upon Eve from all directions. Despite her valiant struggles, the numbers overwhelmed her as 20 to 30 Sky Hall angels and beastmen closed in, forcibly subduing her. Their grip tightened, rendering her powerless against their combined strength. In a calculated move, the Sky Hall angels conjured a swirling vortex of chakra, positioning it directly above Eve's head. The chakra spun rapidly, releasing wisps of smoke that entered Eve's consciousness, rendering her unconscious and silencing her defiance. As the smoke dissipated, the battered figure of the Dark Lord stood before them. His armor was in tatters, splattered with his own blood. His weary eyes struggled to stay open, his wavering stance indicating his impending collapse. It was a sight that conveyed the toll of the battle upon him. However, Noah seized the opportunity, landing behind Michael with astonishing speed and thrusting another god-killing arrow into his already wounded form. The hands of pure light created by Noah moved in a blur, delivering swift and precise strikes as the god-killing arrows pierced Michael's body. Each strike resounded with a thunderous clap, the accompanying flash of lightning illuminating the sky. In a final desperate attempt, Gaia lunged at Michael, her own body battered and bloodied. Despite her injuries, she sought to deliver a decisive blow. Her hand appeared twisted, and crimson streams trickled from her wounds. Michael, despite being pierced by the god-killing arrows, intercepted Gaia, his grip tight as he locked eyes with her. Gaia collapsed onto Michael, their bodies entwined, as Noah unleashed the last and ultimate god-killing arrow, piercing through both their hearts. At that moment, the darkness that had shrouded the battlefield began to recede, allowing the gentle rays of the rising sun to illuminate the horizon. Michael plummeted to the ground, cradling Gaia in his embrace, while Sabrina and Olivia stood nearby, witnessing the fall of the Dark Lord. As Michael's body made contact with the earth, the god-killing arrows pulsated with an intense surge of energy. Then, in a climactic finale, the god-killing arrows erupted in a magnificent explosion, engulfing the Dark Lord's form in a mist of crimson. Noah gazed up at the emerging sun, a symbol of a brighter future now that the Dark Lord had been vanquished. Noah, having finally exacted his revenge upon the Dark Lord for the deaths of Alicia and Norvin, sank to his knees. As the radiant light surrounding him subsided, the true extent of the damage inflicted upon Noah became evident. His body was covered in bruises, blood seeping from numerous wounds. His once majestic armor now lay in tatters, a testament to the fierce battle he had endured. With the defeat of the Dark Lord, Saber took to the skies, his vampire followers vanishing alongside him. Elara, fueled by a desire for justice, attempted to pursue the fleeing vampires, but Noah commanded her to stand down. "Let them go," Noah said, his voice weary but resolute. "It's over." As the dust settled and the chaos of battle subsided, Noah let out a sigh of relief. The long and arduous struggle had finally come to an end. Get ready for some goosebump moments. Chapter 1038, What Really Happened? Part 2. An error occurred while reading the file. Could not find file/data/www/pand_novel_py/used_emails. txt. 3 days after the defeat of the Dark Lord, a festive atmosphere filled the air as the world celebrated this momentous occasion. However, in River Town, where the final battle had taken place, and among the people of Gondolin who had remained indifferent to the war, there was no such revelry. In the midst of this, Penn Town was adorned with golden threads, vibrant lanterns, and an array of dazzling fireworks that illuminated the daytime sky. The townsfolk didn't mind the unusual timing and enthusiastically set off thousands of firecrackers and fireworks, rejoicing in the triumph of their beloved Lord Noah over the Dark Lord. Distinguished figures and leaders from all corners of the realm arrived at Penn Town to partake in the grand celebration hosted by Noah at his opulent residence, Winston Manor. The manor itself was a sight to behold, bedecked with colorful lights, shimmering lanterns, and intricately woven golden decorations. The entrance to the manor was lined with a red carpet, where people eagerly gathered, their cheers resounding like thunderclaps. Amidst the jubilant atmosphere, Olivia Palmer, hailed as one of the heroes for her courageous efforts to thwart the Dark Lord, arrived in her carriage. The carriage gracefully made its way through the sea of people, who stood on either side of the red carpet, offering their cheers and adoration. Outside the walls of Winston Manor, the townsfolk of Penn Town had congregated, eagerly awaiting glimpses of the illustrious guests and the festivities unfolding within. Their excitement was palpable as they cheered and applauded, their joy reverberating through the air. As Olivia gracefully alighted from her carriage, the enthusiastic crowd erupted into a chorus of cheers. Clad in a resplendent red gown befitting the grand occasion, she waved graciously at the adoring onlookers before making her way into the magnificent Winston Manor. Inside the manor, the atmosphere was nothing short of captivating. The grand hall, adorned with opulent decorations, exuded an aura of regality. Crystal chandeliers bathed the space in a warm and inviting glow, casting shimmering reflections upon the gilded walls. Elaborate tapestries depicting scenes of valor and triumph adorned the halls, adding an air of historical significance to the surroundings. Olivia followed the elegantly adorned corridors, guided by the gentle melodies of live music that floated through the air. The sound of joyful conversations filled the spaces as she navigated her way towards the grand hall, where the esteemed guests had gathered. As she entered the grand hall, her presence commanded attention. World leaders, including King Bredia, Noah's cousin Andrews, Yasmin Winston, Noah's sister Sabrina Winston, and Andrew's wife, Princess Catherine, daughter of King Bredia, were in attendance. Princess Catherine's 2 children added a touch of youthful exuberance to the gathering. The grand hall itself was a spectacle to behold. Lavish draperies adorned the walls, complementing the majestic artwork displayed throughout. The long dining tables were adorned with exquisite floral arrangements and fine silverware, promising a feast fit for kings. The air was filled with an intoxicating blend of tantalizing aromas from the meticulously prepared dishes, teasing the senses and whetting the appetite. Amidst the mingling guests, Olivia greeted familiar faces with warmth and grace, exchanging pleasantries and sharing in the collective joy of this momentous occasion. As Olivia entered the manor, she was greeted by Neela, one of Noah's trusted allies and an esteemed member of his elite guard. Neela approached Olivia with a respectful nod. Lady Olivia, Lord Noah is waiting for you, Neela informed her. Understanding the purpose of their meeting, Olivia nodded in acknowledgement. She and Neela both knew that their destination lay deep within the labyrinthine corridors of Winston Manor. Lead the way, Olivia gestured, following Neela as they discreetly slipped away from the bustling crowd. They ventured through hidden passages and descended a gloomy staircase, their footsteps echoing in the somber silence. The path to the dungeon prison felt ominous, with dimly lit torches casting flickering shadows along the cold stone walls. Reaching the entrance of the dungeon, Neela revealed a nondescript brown door concealed behind an illusion. With a simple motion, the door swung open, revealing the bleak confines that awaited them. The air grew heavy as they entered, the atmosphere thick with a sense of captivity. Within the dungeon, Olivia's eyes fell upon Noah, who stood before a row of glass tubes, each containing a captive individual. Among them was Ricky, her former lover, confined within a special cage designed specifically to hold the Dark Lord's surviving subordinates. A sigh escaped Olivia's lips as she observed his unconscious form. The glass tubes contained other prominent subordinates of the Dark Lord, including Adelia Wraith, Maxine, Tiberius, Titus, Optimus, and Trista. They remained motionless, unaware of their impending fate at the hands of Noah. Noah, Olivia greeted him as he turned to face her. Noah's face bore the evidence of the intense battle he had endured. Bruises marred his features, and a walking cane supported his weakened body. The strain of wielding the god-killing arrows and the wounds inflicted by the Dark Lord's dark flames had taken their toll. I thought you should have a final opportunity to see Ricky before we carry out their sentence, Noah explained, his voice tinged with a mix of determination and weariness. Neela observed Olivia's shocked expression, sensing the turmoil within her. Sentence? Noah, I believed we were planning to imprison them, Olivia responded, her voice betraying her deep-seated astonishment. Noah's gaze held a resolute conviction as he spoke. I do not wish to subject them to the cruelty of the Skyhole. Handing them over would only result in prolonged suffering. What I offer is a swift and painless end, sparing them from a lifetime of torment for the crimes committed by the Dark Lord, Noah explained, his words filled with a somber gravity. Olivia's lips parted to voice her objections, but her words faltered before they could escape. She realized that Noah's perspective held a painful truth she couldn't deny. Though her heart ached for Ricky and she longed for Noah to spare him, she understood the difficult choices he had to make. In the grand scheme of things, a swift death was a merciful alternative compared to the cruelties the Skyhole would inflict upon them. With a heavy heart, Olivia approached the glass cage containing Ricky, her hand tenderly pressed against the cold surface. Ricky, you should have left Ghost when you had the chance. We could have built a future together, she whispered, tears streaming down her cheeks. Concerned for the fate of the remaining Dark Lord subordinates, Olivia turned her attention to Noah, seeking answers. What about the others, Noah? She inquired, her voice filled with genuine curiosity. Noah's response was resolute yet tinged with a sense of understanding. The undead and vampires have been confined within a separate pocket dimension, under the care of the Skyhole. As for the remaining subordinates, they are scattered and without leadership. We will track them down in due time, Neela interjected, offering a response to Olivia's question. Eager to uncover the fate of her dear friend, Olivia voiced her concerns regarding Eve Voldegard, the Dark Lord's closest ally. And what of Eve? Olivia's voice trembled with a mix of curiosity and sadness. She had noticed Eve's absence from the glass cages, and her heart yearned to know her friend's fate. Neela's response held no trace of sympathy, displaying her unwavering resolve. Eve chose to take her own life. It seems the Dark Lord had entrusted her with a potent poison, to be used as a last resort in case of capture, Neela revealed, her tone betraying no mercy for Eve. In Neela's eyes, the Dark Lord's subordinates held no value, and their actions warranted no compassion. We have managed to extract a sample of the poison from Eve's body, Olivia. I need you to replicate it in order to ensure a painless death for them, Noah's voice echoed with a hint of urgency. Olivia, still engrossed in her sorrowful gaze upon Ricky, responded without turning around. I think you should take a look at, why can't you do it yourself? You're just as skilled an alchemist as I am, Olivia questioned, her voice filled with a mix of curiosity and concern. Noah's response was laced with a tinge of helplessness. I cannot. This poison was created using Ghost's unique recipe. Only you possess the knowledge to replicate it, Noah explained, his words resonating with the weight of necessity. If you are unable, I can use my light flames to end their lives, but I cannot guarantee a painless death, Noah stated, his voice revealing the absence of choice. Olivia, absorbing Noah's words, took a deep breath, steeling herself for the task at hand. I will do it. Just provide me with a secluded space to work, Olivia requested, her voice determined. Noah nodded in agreement, acknowledging her request. I will grant you the solitude you need. Neela will ensure you have everything necessary, Noah replied before limping away from the dungeon. 2 hours swiftly passed as Olivia meticulously brewed the replicated poison, her focus unwavering. With the task completed, she made her way back to the main hall. Emerging onto the front yard, where the guests were gathered, Olivia joined the crowd. A stage, adorned with the glass cages containing the Dark Lord's subordinates, had risen from the ground. As she awaited her cue, Noah finally appeared on the stage, greeted by thunderous cheers from the assembled crowd. The crowd erupted in cheers and applause, their voices reverberating through the air. Hail Lord Noah, the vanquisher of darkness. Praise be to the one who defeated the Dark Lord. Lord Noah, you have saved us all. The resounding cheers echoed around Penn Town, an outpouring of gratitude and admiration for their savior. The people hailed Noah as a hero, their voices filled with hope and reverence. In the distance, Celice soared through the sky, her face radiating with joy. She had achieved her goal of eliminating the Dark Lord, eagerly anticipating her master's journey into the realm of gods, where she was destined to accompany him. Meanwhile, Noah stood before the gathered crowd, acknowledging their cheers and applause. With a humble smile, he raised his hand, signaling for silence. As his hand ascended, a hush fell over the crowd, their attention solely focused on Noah. Taking a deep breath, Noah began his speech, his voice resonating with sincerity. My friends, today we celebrate a great victory over the Dark Lord, but let us not forget that darkness does not reside solely within one individual, Noah addressed the crowd, his words capturing their attention. We all possess a shadow within us, capable of darkness and evil. It is a part of our nature. But it is through our choices, our actions, and our kindness that we can overcome this darkness, Noah continued, his voice filled with conviction. He urged the crowd to reflect on their own flaws and the importance of self-improvement. We must strive to be better, to do better, if we are to prevent the rise of another Dark Lord. Each and every one of us has the power to make a difference, to bring light to the world, Noah emphasized, his gaze sweeping across the faces of the people before him. His words resonated with the listeners as they contemplated the significance of their individual contributions in creating a brighter future. The crowd listened attentively, their hearts stirred by Noah's call for self-reflection and personal growth. They understood that it was not only the defeat of the Dark Lord that mattered but also their own commitment to kindness and compassion in their daily lives. Noah gazed upon the glass cages, his expression filled with a mix of regret and resolve. He spoke to the gathered crowd, his voice carrying a tone of compassion and understanding. I regret having to impose this death sentence upon them. But I do so out of mercy, Noah confessed, his words punctuated by a heavy sigh. I have prepared a poison that will dissolve within the glass cages, ending their lives swiftly and painlessly. Once their souls have departed, I will use my light flames to burn their bodies. The crowd listened in somber silence as Noah continued, his voice filled with determination. This is not an act of vengeance or cruelty. It is an act of kindness. These individuals, once loyal to the Dark Lord, are now condemned to suffer a fate worse than death if they were to fall into the hands of higher authorities. I offer them release from that fate. Olivia watched as Noah nodded, signaling to Neela, who stood beside a lever on the side. With a determined expression, Neela pulled down the lever, and a mechanism was set in motion. A soft hissing sound filled the air as the glass cages were permeated by a swirling purple mist. The sound of Noah's voice broke the silence. "May their spirits find peace in the realm beyond," he whispered, his voice carrying a solemn reverence. Olivia could see the anguish in Noah's eyes, a testament to the heavy toll that such decisions took on his soul. As the purple mist diffused within the glass cages, Olivia's eyes were fixed on Ricky and the others held captive. She noticed a subtle shift in their bodies, a slight twitch, as if their unconscious forms were responding to the presence of the mist. Gradually, their movements ceased, and Olivia realized with a heavy heart that their breathing had stilled. Just as Olivia's gaze lingered on Ricky's motionless figure, a gray-haired elder, adorned in ceremonial robes, approached his glass cage. His weathered hand gently pressed against the transparent barrier, causing a rune etched onto the surface to glow softly. The elder closed his eyes briefly, as if connecting with a realm beyond the physical, before turning around to face the expectant crowd. With a voice that carried the weight of both sorrow and reverence, the elder announced solemnly, "Their souls have departed from this world." His words hung in the air, embraced by a brief moment of hushed silence. A surge of relief and gratitude swept through the onlookers. The crowd erupted into a cacophony of cheers and applause, their jubilant voices resonating through the air like a wave of joyous energy. The cheers were a testament to the collective understanding that the Dark Lord's reign of darkness had finally come to an end and that Noah's decisive actions had paved the way for a brighter future. Then, as he said, Noah's hand ascended into the air, his palm open as if harnessing the power of the sun itself. In response to his command, bright flames materialized, their brilliance illuminating the surroundings. The intense light flickered with vibrant energy, casting dancing shadows across the faces of those gathered. As the flames drew closer to the glass cages, they seemed to defy the laws of physics, seeping effortlessly through the barriers. The flames engulfed the lifeless bodies within, wrapping them in a shroud of radiant heat. In an instant, the bodies began to disintegrate, transforming into fine particles that swirled in the fiery vortex. The brilliance of the flames intensified, emanating an overwhelming light that enveloped the entire whole. It was as if the room had been consumed by a blinding celestial aura, rendering everyone temporarily blind to their surroundings. They shielded their eyes, squinting against the radiance, as the all-encompassing brilliance filled their senses. When the light finally subsided and the onlookers dared to open their eyes, they found themselves gazing upon a scene of ash and remnants. The once prisoned bodies of the Dark Lord's subordinates had been reduced to nothing more than a fine powder scattered across the floor. The air carried a faint trace of their existence, a bittersweet reminder of lives extinguished. Chapter 1039, What Really Happened? Final. Amidst the lively festivities, Olivia spotted Lord Information amidst the crowd. She approached the elf with a warm smile, extending her greetings. "Lord Information, it's a pleasant surprise to see you here." "I didn't think you would come," Olivia said, her voice filled with genuine warmth. Lord Information turned to face her, a bright expression on his face. He knew the significance of his role in the recent events, having aided Noah with crucial information that ultimately led to the Dark Lord's defeat. "Why wouldn't I be here? This is a momentous occasion, a celebration of the Dark Lord's downfall," Lord Information replied, a glass of wine in hand. He began strolling through Lady Diana Winston's magnificent garden, inviting Olivia to join him. They walked side by side, engaging in a pleasant conversation. "I am sorry for your loss, Lady Olivia." Lord Information expressed his condolences for Olivia's loss, understanding the pain she must be feeling after losing Ricky, her former lover. Olivia sighed, acknowledging his words with a sense of regret. "I hope he finds peace," Olivia responded, her voice carrying a tinge of melancholy. Lord Information shifted the topic, curious about Olivia's future plans now that the Dark Lord had been vanquished. He acknowledged Olivia's exceptional talent as an alchemist, recognizing that her skills rivaled even those of the Dark Lord himself. "What are your future plans now, Lady Olivia? With the Dark Lord no longer a threat, you stand as one of the most esteemed alchemists in the world. Say what you want about the Dark Lord, but his knowledge in alchemy was unparalleled, except perhaps by one man who is not present," Lord Information remarked, alluding to Noah's own prowess in the field. Olivia pondered the question, her footsteps gently guiding her along the dazzling flower beds that flourished beneath the shimmering night sky. She considered a future filled with tranquility, a life of peaceful solitude. "To be honest, I have no idea. Perhaps I will find a place to settle down and spend the remainder of my days in peace and quiet," Olivia replied, her voice filled with a hint of longing for a life away from the chaos and turmoil of the past. After pondering for a moment, Olivia shared her intentions with Lord Information. "I have plans to assist Noah in rebuilding Rivertown. The people of Rivertown deserve to have their homes restored after the devastating final battle between Noah and the Dark Lord," Olivia revealed, her voice filled with determination to aid those in need. However, her hopeful aspirations were soon met with unfortunate news as Lord Information interjected, delivering a somber revelation. "Unfortunately, Lady Olivia, the Sky Hall has made the decision to close off Rivertown. The aftermath of the battle, including the radiation emitted by the god-killing arrows and the residue left behind, has rendered the area highly hazardous," Lord Information disclosed, shedding light on the grim aftermath of the clash between the two powerful entities. Shaken by this revelation, Olivia's concern for the displaced residents of Rivertown grew stronger. "But where will the people go? What will happen to them?" Olivia questioned, genuine worry etched on her face. "They will be relocated to Breedia. However, we both know the history between the Dark Lord and King Breedia. Considering the Dark Lord's affection for the people of Rivertown and their devotion to him, it is unlikely that King Breedia will treat them fairly. They may find themselves living as almost slaves, with homes and no collars around their necks," Lord Information explained, his words painting a grim picture of the fate awaiting the Rivertown residents. Olivia's mind raced, recalling the incident when her teacher, the Dark Lord, had nearly beaten King Breedia to a pulp in his very throne for attempting to harm the people of Rivertown. Now, with the Dark Lord defeated, King Breedia's vindictive nature seemed to have resurfaced, seeking revenge on those whom the Dark Lord held dear. Curiosity piqued, Olivia inquired about Noah's awareness of the situation. "Does Noah know about this?" she asked, hoping for a glimmer of hope. Lord Information nodded solemnly, his expression mirroring Olivia's concern. "Yes, he is well aware. Unfortunately, he is left with no viable alternatives. No kingdom would readily accept the people who once worshipped the Dark Lord as immigrants. Noah may have emerged victorious in defeating the Dark Lord and earned the title of hero, but he lacks the resources and political power to accommodate the displaced residents. It is King Breedia who has agreed to take them into his kingdom," Lord Information explained, the weight of the situation evident in his voice. As they continued their discussion, one of Lord Information's assistants, a golden-haired elf, emerged from the garden to deliver an important message. "My lord, King Breedia has requested your presence in his chambers," the elf reported. Olivia was taken aback by the unexpected turn of events, as it seemed that King Breedia and Lord Information were about to meet. Sensing an opportunity, Lord Information turned to Olivia and proposed an idea. "Speaking of the devil, Lady Olivia, why don't you accompany me to this meeting? Your presence might bring some positive influence to the plight of the Rivertown people," he suggested, his eyes filled with hope. "I think you should take a look at." After a moment of contemplation, Olivia nodded in agreement. "If it won't pose any inconvenience, I will join you in this meeting," Olivia expressed, her determination shining through. Lord Information's face lit up with a smile, appreciating Olivia's willingness to help. "Fantastic," he replied, handing his empty wine glass to a servant nearby. With their decision made, Olivia and Lord Information soared through the sky, their destination set for the kingdom of Bredia. The castle of King Bredia loomed majestically, a symbol of his wealth and authority. Under the clear night sky, the castle radiated an air of festivity, with decorations and lights illuminating the surroundings in celebration of the Dark Lord's defeat. As Lord Information and Olivia were escorted by the royal guards, they entered a grand and opulent chamber, befitting a king. The room was adorned with intricate tapestries depicting scenes of valor and triumph, while golden chandeliers bathed the space in a warm and inviting glow. The air was filled with the scent of lavender and sandalwood, creating an atmosphere of regality. In the center of the chamber, a large wooden table stood, polished to a lustrous sheen. On the other side of the table, King Bredia sat upon a magnificent chair, his back turned towards the entrance. His gaze was fixed upon the kingdom outside the window, where the festivities honoring the defeat of the Dark Lord were in full swing. "My lord," Lord Information respectfully bowed, awaiting the king's response. Olivia stood beside him, her eyes scanning the chamber as the royal guards exited, closing the door behind them. "Your Majesty, I brought Lady Olivia to this meeting about the Rivertown people." "I hope you don't mind," Lord Information's words hung in the air, unanswered by King Bredia. As the seconds ticked by, an eerie silence hung in the air. Lord Information's anticipation turned to confusion, for there was no acknowledgement from King Bredia. Suddenly, a searing pain coursed through his side, causing him to gasp in shock. He looked down, disbelief etched across his face, as he saw Olivia driving a dagger into his gut. The betrayal cut deep, both literally and figuratively, as Lord Information grappled with the overwhelming realization that he had been deceived. A mixture of shock and terror consumed Lord Information as his mind raced to comprehend Olivia's treachery. There had been no sign, no inkling that she would turn against him. His thoughts swirled in a whirlwind of questions, desperately searching for a reason for her betrayal. Yet, no answer emerged from the depths of his bewildered mind. In a stunning turn of events, the king's chair slowly rotated, revealing a figure that sent shivers down Lord Information's spine. It was not King Bredia who sat upon the regal seat but the Dark Lord himself. The chamber seemed to darken, the air heavy with an ominous presence as the true mastermind behind the deceitful facade was unveiled. A sinister smile crept across the Dark Lord's face as he reclined in the chair, exuding an air of nonchalance. With a subtle flick of his wrist, he effortlessly summoned an empty chair behind Lord Information. Overwhelmed by blood loss and racked with pain, Lord Information crumpled into the chair, his gaze locked with the Dark Lord's piercing eyes. "The greatest betrayal comes not from enemies but from those we once called friends. Did you think only you can play that game?" asked the Dark Lord with a sly smile. Unbeknownst to Lord Information, he believed he had remained hidden in the shadows, playing a crucial role in providing the map that led to the Dark Lord's defeat. It was an illusion he held on to, thinking that Noah had vanquished the Dark Lord using the god-killing arrows. Yet there he was, face to face with the Dark Lord himself, his wicked smile illuminating the truth. With a swift and calculated gesture, the Dark Lord flicked his wrist, conjuring 7 exquisite silver arrows adorned with intricate runes. These were no ordinary arrows, they were the very same god-killing arrows that Lord Information had aided Noah in finding. As the shock of the Dark Lord's presence settled in, Lord Information sensed a flicker of the Dark Lord's immense power. It shattered the illusion that he was merely at the half-celestial stage, the stage he had displayed during his battle with Noah. Instead, Lord Information now beheld the unmistakable aura of the celestial stage radiating from the Dark Lord. The realization struck him like a bolt of lightning, dispelling any lingering doubts about the true extent of the Dark Lord's strength. Struggling against the pain coursing through his body, Lord Information managed to turn his head toward Olivia, who stood motionless nearby. The world believed that Olivia had abandoned her allegiance to the Dark Lord when his true identity was exposed. However, Lord Information's mind pieced together the puzzle, connecting her betrayal to the return of the Dark Lord. It became painfully clear that every action, every deception, was orchestrated as part of the Dark Lord's elaborate plan. All this time, Lord Information's voice faltered, weighed down by the enormity of the truth. The Dark Lord leaned forward, his eyes glinting with a mischievous glimmer. He began to narrate a story to Lord Information, his voice laced with an eerie charm. Once upon a time, there was a mighty lion who ruled over the animal kingdom. The lion possessed immense strength and power, causing fear to ripple through the hearts of the creatures in his domain. Yet, a cunning pack of foxes believed themselves to be far cleverer than the lion. They plotted and schemed, thinking they could outwit the powerful king of the jungle. But you see, the Dark Lord continued, his voice dripping with intrigue, the foxes were blinded by their own perception of strength. They failed to recognize the lion's intelligence, for they only saw his might. They assumed that the lion's seeming laziness was a sign of weakness, a vulnerability they could exploit. The truth, however, was far from their limited understanding. The lion was not lazy, he simply did not view the foxes as his true adversaries. He saw no need to waste his energy on mere distractions. The foxes, in their arrogance, mistook his disregard as a lack of intelligence, a sign of their imminent victory. But you, dear Lord Information, the Dark Lord's voice grew softer, a sinister undertone beneath his words, are akin to those misguided foxes. You failed to see the depths of my cunning, to comprehend the extent of my plans. You believed yourself to be the orchestrator of events, but in truth, you were merely a pawn in my grand design. Lord Information listened in stunned silence, his mind racing with a mixture of fear and realization. The Dark Lord's narrative had painted a vivid picture of his own ignorance and underestimation. Chapter 1040. The Dark Lord planned everything. As Lord Information struggled to stay conscious, Michael's words filled the air with a chilling truth that sent shivers down his spine. His bloodied hands trembled as he tried to comprehend the depth of the Dark Lord's manipulation. You see, Lord Information, I have a voice inside my head. It's never wrong. Every time I saw you, the voice warned me not to trust this elf, Michael calmly explained, his eyes fixed on Lord Information's pained expression. That's why I left some of my friends inside your office to keep an eye on you. So, I wasn't surprised when you decided to bring the map containing the location of the god-killing arrows to Noah. If you had given me the map, you wouldn't be here, and I wouldn't be here, Michael continued, his voice unwavering despite the gravity of the situation. Lord Information coughed up blood, his gaze shifting towards Olivia, who now stood beside the Dark Lord, a cold expression on her face. Michael noticed Lord Information's glare and felt compelled to clarify. You and the whole world think I revealed myself as the Dark Lord during the war against Wuxia. But that's not true. I told Olivia long before that. She was a diligent student who understood that the Sky Hall was manipulating everyone with their narratives about me being evil. Besides, I needed someone behind enemy lines, and Olivia graciously accepted that task. Even my wife Gaia didn't know about this, Michael revealed, a satisfied smile crossing his lips as he saw his meticulous plan unfold perfectly. Lord Information's mind reeled with shock and betrayal, realizing that he had unknowingly played into the Dark Lord's hands. He struggled to find the strength to respond as darkness slowly encroached on his vision, the pain from the dagger wound becoming unbearable. She pretended to hate me, and the whole world, including Noah, bought that, Michael chuckled, reveling in his masterful deception. But Ricky. Lord Information mumbled, his voice weak. Lord Information had seen with his own eyes the poison enter the glass cage, the confirmation of the Dark Lord's subordinates' deaths by the Elder of the Sky Hall, and Noah using his light flames to destroy their bodies. Ricky, Michael slowly clapped his hands together, leaning back on his chair. Lord Information heard a footstep and turned his head, gazing at a dark corner of the king's chamber. To his pure shock, Ricky, the young man who was supposed to have died in Noah's light flames, emerged from the darkness. Even more surprising, Ricky was dragging King Breedia with him, the king struggling and muffled by a cloth in his mouth. King Breedia's regal red attire was now torn and tattered, a testament to the beating he had received. His neatly combed hair was now ruffled and disheveled, and his hands and legs were bound as Ricky dragged him towards the Dark Lord. Ricky forced King Bredia's head down onto the table where Michael was seated. The king's head hit the table with a thud, and Ricky firmly held him in place. Michael then slowly ran his fingers through King Bredia's hair, like a predator savoring its prey before the final strike. "My dear king. What did I tell you last time?" asked Michael. He ignored Lord Information for a moment and turned his gaze to King Bredia. King Bredia managed to mutter through the cloth. "Take out the cloth," Michael smiled at Ricky. Ricky, in his black shiny armor, nodded and removed the cloth from King Bredia's mouth. "Help! Guards!" King Bredia screamed for help, but to his terror, no guards came to his rescue. "We soundproofed the room, you old fuck," another voice snickered from the corner. Lord Information turned his head and saw the Dark Queen emerge from the darkness. He was terrified, as he had witnessed both the Dark Lord and the Dark Queen supposedly die in a bloody mist at the hands of Noah. But it was all a facade. The entire war was orchestrated by the Dark Lord from start to finish. The world had been deceived, and the Dark Lord had won. Gaia, the Dark Queen, came to Michael's side and placed her hand on Olivia's shoulder. "Sorry I doubted you, Olivia. You did really great," said Gaia, genuinely surprised and shocked to learn that Olivia had never abandoned the Dark Lord and had remained loyal to him all along. "Guards! Help! The Dark Lord is here. Noah!" King Bredia continued to scream fiercely, even though Gaia had already informed him that the room was soundproofed. The guards and citizens outside were celebrating the Dark Lord's death, completely unaware that he was inside the king's chamber, holding the king's life in his hands. "I told you I'd kill you if you tried to harm the people I care about, King Bredia." "Did you forget that?" asked Michael. Ricky forced King Bredia to stand straight and look the Dark Lord in the eyes. Just when Lord Information thought the surprises were enough, Michael reached his hand out to another dark corner. This time, it was Eve, the very same person Noah had claimed killed herself after being captured by the Sky Hall angels in the battlefield. She walked out of the corner and handed Michael a large glass bottle containing a glistening red liquor, the highly addictive and potent red bliss that Michael had created and distributed as a part of his business empire to generate a stable income for his dark army. "Tomorrow the big headlines," Eve began her words playfully. "I think you should take a look at." King Bredia fell to his death from his castle chamber while celebrating the Dark Lord's demise. He slipped from his chamber windows and fell to his death after drinking too much red bliss. King Bredia saw Michael pop open the wooden cork with a flick. He violently squirmed and screamed, but Ricky's hold was too strong, and no one came to his aid. Michael then grabbed King Bredia's jaw and pressed it, forcing his mouth open. He forcefully poured all the red bliss down the king's throat, without spilling a single drop. Then, Michael poured some liquid onto his palm and sprayed it onto the king. "Hope you can fly, King Bredia," Eve chuckled as she opened the windows. Ricky then moved the intoxicated king, who had stopped shouting and screaming, towards the open windows. Lord Information watched in horror as Ricky pushed the king closer to the edge. As Ricky stood with the king facing the opened windows, Michael turned his gaze back to Lord Information. "You have no idea about the forces you are meddling with." Lord Information managed to utter these words in a weak and pained voice. "You mean Seraphine," Michael calmly said, revealing his knowledge of the goddess Lord Information served. "Where do you think I am going next? Why fight the minions when you can kill their lords?" Michael calmly asked Lord Information, hinting at his grand plan. He seemed to know something about the goddess Seraphine, which troubled Lord Information deeply. "As far as the world is concerned, you disappeared from the face of this world." "Poof," Michael gestured, explaining how he intended to make it seem like Lord Information had vanished without a trace. "We can harvest his organs and use them in Project Phoenix," a playful young child's voice came from behind. Lord Information turned to see the Dark Lord's pet, the three-headed Hydra, landing on the Dark Queen's shoulder. The three heads of the Hydra looked at him with a mix of pity, mockery, and anger. The scene was filled with dread and tension as Michael's sinister plans and the true extent of his power unfolded. "We can't use his kidney, that's for sure." Olivia stuck the dagger right through it, Iag remarked, and Olivia simply shrugged, showing no remorse for her actions. Project Phoenix played a significant role in deceiving everyone. During the climactic battle, when Noah used his meteor spell, creating a blinding explosion of light, Michael took advantage of the chaos. He swiftly teleported himself to the Dark Castle and sent another body, an exact replica of himself, to the battlefield. The Skyhall Angels and Noah were fooled by the fake aura, thinking that the god-killing arrow had weakened Michael's cultivation level. In reality, Michael had been at the celestial stage the whole time, but he cunningly created the illusion of a lower cultivation level. Prior to the war, he absorbed the energy sources that Gaia had found and cultivated, which temporarily brought the system online. Using the system's capabilities, Michael teleported himself to a separate pocket dimension, triggered his heavenly tribulation, and successfully advanced to the celestial stage. Once he reached the celestial stage, the system remained permanently online, giving him a strategic advantage during the battle. Michael had come fully prepared, and his meticulous planning allowed him to deceive everyone around him, ultimately achieving his grand design. "I hope the host's plan to let Noah live is a good plan. You had the probability of 100% chance to win against Noah, but you chose not to." The system sounded in Michael's mind. The system's voice echoed in Michael's mind, reminding him that he could have easily defeated Noah with a 100% chance of success. However, Michael had deliberately held back during the battle, using only 10% of his true power. He had allowed Noah to believe he had won the war, leading everyone to think that the Dark Lord was no more. This deception served as a crucial advantage for Michael's grand scheme. With Noah believed to be defeated, Michael could now slip into the realm of gods unnoticed and form an alliance with Dagon to bring destruction upon the pantheon and the realm of gods. As Lord Information learned about the Dark Lord's intricate plan, Ricky held King Breedia firmly by his collar at the edge of the window. "Let him fly," Michael snickered, and Ricky released his grip. High on the potent red bliss, King Breedia didn't even realize he was falling until he hit the ground face first, turning into a gruesome spectacle of blood and gore. After King Breedia's demise, Michael's gaze fixed on Lord Information, expressing gratitude for the god-killing arrows he had provided. His sinister smile sent shivers down Lord Information's spine. As Ricky approached, Lord Information's heart pounded with fear, realizing the horrifying truth. The Dark Lord's plan was far from over. "Thank you for the god-killing arrows, Lord Information. It was a pleasure doing business with you," Michael said with a chilling tone, acknowledging the collaboration between them. Ricky held a thick needle in his hand, and before Lord Information could react, it pierced his skin. The world around him blurred as the venomous liquid from the needle entered his bloodstream. The Dark Lord's wicked grin was the last sight that Lord Information beheld before darkness consumed him completely. Chapter 1041, Next Stop, The Realm of Gods. Chapter 1041. Next Stop, The Realm of Gods. 2 days after King Breedia's death, the soldiers and the king's family concluded that it was a tragic accident. The citizens believed that the king had celebrated too much after the Dark Lord's supposed demise and tragically fell from his chamber. Given the history of animosity between King Breedia and the Dark Lord, many found it plausible that the king had indulged excessively in alcohol. Meanwhile, Michael gathered all his loyal subordinates at a magnificent manor owned by Nithroel, the Empress of Ar. The manor was situated in a secluded canyon overlooking a serene lake, surrounded by lush greenery and majestic mountains. The lavish manor exuded an aura of grandeur, with its elegant architecture and marble halls adorned with exquisite artworks. Portraits of Nithroel, with her golden hair and elven grace, adorned the walls, showcasing her regal beauty. Using specially crafted teleportation scrolls designed by Eladir, Michael's subordinates and closest allies arrived at the main hall one by one. The hall resonated with a sense of anticipation as they gathered to hear the Dark Lord's plans and further their allegiance to him. Among the gathering of subordinates, Lenora, the elder vampire who had her head severed by the Blood Prince, stood tall, her body restored through Project Phoenix as Michael had promised to Trista, who was also present in the hall. "Where is the Dark Lord?" Saber inquired, standing next to Adelia. Adelia was anxiously awaiting to see her daughter Gaia. It had felt like an eternity since she had last laid eyes on her daughter. "How did you manage to escape?" Saber asked Adelia, curiosity evident in his voice. The last time Saber had seen Adelia, she was trapped inside a glass cage, breathing in deadly poison fumes, and succumbing to death, her body subsequently incinerated by Noah's light flames. "I have no idea. The Dark Lord said he had a plan to save us all. And true to his word, he saved us. But I don't know how," Adelia explained. Despite being the Dark Lord's mother-in-law, she hadn't been privy to the secret plan he used to rescue her. As they anxiously awaited the Dark Lord's arrival, the lights and chandeliers that illuminated the hall suddenly flickered and went out, shrouding the room in darkness. After a few seconds, the lights returned, and before them stood the Dark Lord, the Dark Queen, and their three-headed Hydra, Vidora, perched atop the Dark Queen's shoulder. As the Dark Lord arrived before them, the sheer power emanating from him caused the lights to flicker and go out. It was evident that he was reaching a level where his energy, godly in nature, began to interact with mortal energies, resulting in such anomalies. Michael knew that to harness this energy radiation and unlock more of his true power, he had to journey to the realm of the gods. Upon his arrival, the subordinates erupted in cheers and applause. Overwhelmed by the realization of the Dark Lord's astounding feat, they were fully aware of the difficulty involved in making the world believe he was dead. Although they didn't quite grasp the extent of his intricate manipulations, they were certain that the Dark Lord had successfully fooled everyone. "Did I disappoint you?" Michael asked, fully aware of the answer. Soon, another figure appeared behind the Dark Lord. It was Azazel, who walked forward and handed him a roll of parchment. "Michael, no, my lord," came the resounding response from everyone. Soon, another figure appeared behind the Dark Lord. It was Azazel, who walked forward and handed him a roll of parchment. Michael unrolled it to find a list of vampires, undead, and soldiers of the Dark Army who had lost their lives. Michael sighed inwardly, knowing that such sacrifices were necessary in the pursuit of victory. He understood that winning a war often came with the heavy price of lives lost. "The Sky Hall has captured many of the Nightwalkers and undead. We are trying to figure out where they are being held," Azazel informed Michael. "What about the rest?" asked Michael. "We sent them to the Gravesinger's pocket dimension. They are safe and sound," Azazel confirmed. "My lord," suddenly Saber raised his hand, drawing Michael's attention. "What is it, Saber?" asked Michael. "Now that you have entered the celestial stage, why can't we get rid of the Sky Hall once and for all?" Saber asked Michael. As an elder vampire, Saber was displeased that his brethren and fellow Nightwalkers were being held captive by the Sky Hall. "You cannot underestimate the mortals, Saber. I was once a mortal and believed to be one. Look at me now. We cannot overestimate ourselves and underestimate our enemies just because we won one battle," Michael said in a serious tone. Despite achieving the impossible, he never underestimated his enemies or Noah, who may have few brain cells but have whole heap of luck. "Besides, we have bigger enemies now, the gods," Gaia continued. When the subordinates heard Gaia's words, they murmured in shock and surprise. At this moment, only the Dark Lord as the God of Darkness can stand a chance against the gods. But we all witnessed what happened at the wedding. Even he wasn't strong enough to fight someone possessed by just a sliver of a god's power. "So just imagine how powerful higher-level gods will be," said Gaia. Gaia allowed her words to sink in for a moment, and a heavy silence filled the hall before she spoke again. "That's why we must become gods ourselves." Gaia's words sent a chill down their spines, but excitement also stirred within the subordinates. Even Claire, who had recently learned about her mother's imprisonment in another world like Idanes, felt a mix of emotions. Adelia had previously discovered that the Dark Elves had imprisoned Claire's mother, Elasha Mortero, in a separate world. However, with Michael's plan in motion, he couldn't spare the resources to rescue Elasha at the time. Since Michael's plan to fake his death and so many moving parts, Michael did not risk deviating from his plan. Everyone who heard Gaia was shocked and left speechless, including Adelia. But to achieve that, I have to go somewhere else, leaving you all here. That's why I called everyone here, Michael calmly explained. He didn't mention that to build the contraption capable of turning his subordinates into gods, he needed materials that could only be found in the realm of gods and beyond. Michael's machine was far superior to Hammond's, as it would transform his subordinates into true gods with stable and real power. Despite his vast resources and wealth, buying the necessary materials from the system store would lead Michael to bankruptcy. His only option was to venture into the realm of gods, as he had planned. But before he could embark on that journey, Michael needed to ensure that his subordinates carried out some secret tasks. Although we lost our castle and made the entire world believe we failed, we cannot allow our enemies to gain more power. From now on, each one of you will remain hidden and operate in the shadows. You will continue with your assigned tasks, just as you always have, but this time, you will not reveal yourselves to the world. Staying in the darkness is crucial for our future success, Michael instructed. His subordinates listened carefully, fully aware of the importance of secrecy and the strategic value it would bring to their cause. To sustain our position, we need a steady flow of income. The Red Bliss distribution will continue as usual, now that Alicia is no longer there to oppose it. However, we must not rely solely on Red Bliss for our finances. We need to diversify. With Olivia on our side, we can expand our production and distribution of other alcoholic beverages. Our allies at Phoenix Manor will establish chains of restaurants and taverns, providing us with an additional source of income. Gaia elaborated on their future plans. Since Michael couldn't bring Gaia into the realm of gods until he found a way, she would stay behind to lead their subordinates. Although Michael usually allowed his subordinates to work independently, the stakes were too high this time, and any misstep could unravel his carefully crafted plan. Thus, he needed Gaia to stay and build up their shadow empire. While I'm away, you will follow Gaia's lead and continue to grow. The war we fought against Noah was just a prelude to the battles we will face in the future. But winning that war will make us the masters of this universe. I promised you all immortality, and soon, you will all become immortals. Gaia has discovered energy deposits that will help you advance to the immortal stage. However, you will have to cultivate in the cold mountains, one by one. When your heavenly tribulations draw near, our allies in the sea realm will escort you deeper into the ocean, ensuring you emerge safely from the tribulation without falling into Noah's grasp, Michael explained. The subordinates attentively absorbed Michael's words, nodding in agreement with their determined gazes, ready to take on the challenges that lay ahead. But remember, the Empress is taking a significant risk by aiding us. If any one of you dares to reveal her involvement, I will know, and I won't show any mercy. Michael's voice turned colder as the lights flickered in response to his intense energy. With his future plans explained, Michael prepared to depart for the realm of gods. Each subordinate received their specific tasks from Gaia and Michael. After the instructions were given, Michael allowed Gaia some time with Adelia and made his way outside. While the subordinates gathered in the hall, Michael walked to the distant lake. As he gazed at the tranquil waters, the space around him began to distort. Suddenly, a figure materialized behind Michael. Without a second thought, the figure lunged at him, embracing him from behind. I almost thought I lost you, said the figure. I promised you I'm not going anywhere, Sabrina, said Michael, his smile gentle and reassuring. Just like everything else, Sabrina's betrayal at the end of the war was also part of Michael's plan. He had instructed her to pretend to betray him so that she could have her family back. With the Dark Lord seemingly gone, the Sky Hall would no longer keep the Winstons imprisoned. Michael had a soft spot for Sabrina, and he genuinely wanted her to reunite with her family. Chapter 1042 Kill your father-in-law for me. So, what's your next move, brother? Asked Sabrina, holding Michael's hand tightly. It's better if you don't know the details. You have your family back now. I promised you that, and I delivered. It's time for you to return to your normal life. The Sky Hall won't bother your family anymore, Michael replied. You are family too, and I don't even know your real name. Don't tell me you were always called Ghost, Sabrina chuckled, trying to hide the pain of parting from her brother. Even though she had only known that the Dark Lord was her brother for a short time, it felt like they had been siblings for eternity. The thought of never seeing him again was heart-wrenching. Michael, he whispered, finally revealing his true name to Sabrina. Michael. Sabrina repeated softly. Mom used to call you Dean, but I prefer Michael better, she said. Don't tell your mom the truth about what really happened, Sabrina. As long as the world and your family believe that I am dead, they will be safe, Michael explained, as tears welled up in Sabrina's eyes. Mom really misses you, Michael. If you just come and talk to her, I promise we won't tell anyone that you're alive. Mom stopped talking to Noah and all of us completely. I've never seen her like this before. She blames herself for what happened to you, Sabrina pleaded. There's no point in blaming, Sabrina. Although I was born to your mother, I was never truly her son. When I think about it, I only brought pain and suffering to her and her family. It's better if I stay dead to your family. She will eventually find a way to cope with my loss. Michael turned around and gently wiped the tears from Sabrina's eyes. With the Sky Hall believing that the Dark Lord had died, they brought Diana back to their home with Ethan and all the others they had captured when Diana revealed that the Dark Lord was her son. Michael was quietly happy with how everything had turned out. In this plan, everyone got their happy ending. No mother can truly get over the loss of her child, Michael. Don't you understand? The Sky Hall did something to Mother. I will prove to you that she never abandoned you, Sabrina said with determination. But Michael shook his head. No, do not go against the Sky Hall. There are powers at play beyond your comprehension. You've got your happy ending. Just live the rest of your life happily and stay out of trouble. I will watch over you as always from the shadows. Every time you see your shadow, just know that your brother, the God of Darkness, is with you. Michael smiled and gently kissed Sabrina on her forehead. What about your happiness, Michael? You're still fighting for your life. Take me with you, I promise I'll get stronger and fight by your side. Sabrina grabbed Michael's hand and squeezed it tight, showing no intention of letting him go. I don't want you to fight, Sabrina. You deserve a life that I never had. What kind of big brother would I be if I put you in harm's way? Michael's voice showed the deep love he had for his little sister. Back on Earth, Michael grew up as an orphan, dreaming of having a family. But when he learned the truth that he was abandoned in this world and thrown into Earth like trash, abandoned by his own mother, his heart was shattered. However, despite his anger towards Diana for abandoning him, he never felt anything but love for Sabrina, who had been nothing but a good sister to him. Even though Michael only discovered that Sabrina was his little sister for a short amount of time, he couldn't help but love her with all his heart. Michael rarely showed his vulnerable side and loved someone like he loved Gaia, his wife. To Michael, Sabrina was his little sister, and he felt the strong urge to protect her from all harm. If you want to do something for me, keep Harry and Layla safe. Love them like you love me. Harry will be branded as the Dark Lord's son for all his life. Keep him safe from being manipulated and turned into a weapon like your brother Noah. Don't shield him from the reality of this world, but don't let the world hurt him either, said Michael. I will, I promise. I will look after him and love him with all my heart, Sabrina said. Good girl, Michael playfully ruffled her hair. What about Rowena? Have you heard anything about her? Asked Sabrina. She had never seen her elder sister since the Nagaland War. Although the world believed the holy maiden Rowena Winston made an unholy sacrifice by saving the Dark Lord, no one had found her body. "If she is alive, my minions will find her," said Michael. Deep inside her heart, Sabrina sighed in relief. In her heart, her elder sister Rowena could fix any situation. She was the perfect embodiment of the word elder sister. If she was here, Sabrina had no doubt that she would reunite Michael with the rest of the family. Although Sabrina decided to pretend to agree to Michael's terms, she would never stop trying to bring him back into her family. "Now you be a good girl and stay away from trouble. Don't make me come down there in the darkness and kick your ass," Michael playfully said once again, emphasizing for her to stay out of trouble. "I'll find trouble if it means I can see you again." Sabrina chuckled and cried at the same time, showing her emotions as she didn't want to be separated from her beloved brother. "I bet you would," Michael smiled as Sabrina embraced him once again. He sighed heavily, feeling the weight of their parting, and gently patted her on the back. As much as he loved Sabrina, he knew that staying with her would put her in mortal danger. Sometimes, leaving the ones we love is a way of showing love and care for them. "Now you have to go," Michael said, putting some effort into pushing her away from him. Sabrina clung to him, not wanting to let go. "Promise me you will come back to me once you've dealt with everyone who stands in our way of being a family. Or I won't let you go. I would even tell everyone that you're still alive." Sabrina blackmailed him out of pure love. Michael couldn't help but laugh at her tactics. "Don't laugh. I'm serious. I am your sister. I can be evil too," she said playfully. "I promise you I will come back to you. But you need to achieve immortality and reach beyond the half-celestial stage." "I don't know how long it will take for me to dismantle and destroy my enemies," said Michael, his voice turning serious, reflecting the magnitude of the mission he was about to undertake. "I will wait for you and challenge death itself if I have to," Sabrina said with unwavering determination. "I know you will." "Now go," Michael said, once again cupping her head and kissing her on the top of her head lovingly. The emotions between them were palpable as they reluctantly prepared to part ways, each carrying their own burdens and promises. After Sabrina disappeared from his sight, a spatial portal suddenly opened up nearby, and Nithroel, the Empress of Ar, stepped through the teleportation portal. She walked calmly and gracefully to Michael's side, her golden hair shimmering in the dim light. Her presence didn't startle Michael, he knew she was coming. Nithroel was an ally, someone he trusted. She had played a crucial role in their plans, providing resources and assistance when they needed it the most. "Ghost," Nithroel greeted him with a nod, her elegant demeanor still carrying an air of authority. "Nithroel," Michael responded, his expression composed yet relieved to see her. "You're really leaving, aren't you?" she asked, her eyes searching his. "I have to. There's something I must do, something that only I can accomplish," Michael replied, his tone serious. "Good. But before you go, my dear Dark Lord, I require a favor from your assassins," Nithroel declared, her voice firm and unwavering. "My assassins? You want someone eliminated?" Michael inquired with a hint of amusement. As he expected, Nithroel nodded and produced a parchment from her space ring. Handing over the parchment, she looked at Michael with a determined gaze. Michael slowly unrolled the parchment, and as he laid eyes on the portrait of a middle-aged man with wavy gray hair and the name Ingram written below, the smile on his face faded into a deep frown. "Ingram?" Michael asked again, his tone serious and conflicted. "Yes," Nithroel confirmed with a nod, not wavering in her request. "But Ingram is Gaia's father," Michael's voice tightened with concern and disapproval. "That fact doesn't change anything. That slippery bastard has been evading my assassins and war gods for far too long. I want your assassins to eliminate him. This is my price for continuing my unwavering support for you. We both know that once you wage your war against the gods, you'll need all the help you can get," Nithril explained, her eyes locking with Michael's. The weight of the situation hung heavy in the air. Michael knew that Ingram had caused his fair share of trouble, but he also understood the complexity of the situation. Gaia's father, a man who had caused them pain, was also someone important to his wife. Emotions swirled within Michael as he deliberated Nithril's request. He understood the stakes and the need to maintain Nithril's support, but he couldn't ignore the personal conflict he felt. Think carefully, Dark Lord. This is a decision you must make with a clear mind, Nithril urged, recognizing the turmoil in his expression. Chapter 1043. Next step is to become a demigod. After Nithril disappeared from the manor grounds, Gaia approached Michael, noticing the parchment he held on his head. Did you say your goodbyes to your sister? Gaia asked playfully, smiling with curiosity. She had always found Michael's affection for Sabrina intriguing, considering his animosity towards the rest of the Winston family. However, Michael remained silent, and his serious demeanor caught Gaia's attention. She couldn't help but come closer, kissing him on the cheek in an attempt to lighten the mood. Somebody seemed serious, she teased, but Michael still didn't respond. Concerned, Gaia took the parchment from his hand and glanced at the image and the name written on it. Her smile vanished, replaced with shock and anger. Why the hell do you have this asshole's picture? Gaia's voice trembled with emotion. She had learned from Adelia about her true parentage, how Ingram, the elder vampire, was her real father. Known as the oldest among the elder vampires, his age remained a mystery, possibly over 1,000 years. Gaia inherited his vampire genes, which, combined with Adelia's Naga genes, made her an extraordinarily powerful being. Nithril wants Arya and her team to find him and kill him, Michael explained calmly. His words sent shockwaves through Gaia, leaving her stunned and overwhelmed by the revelation. Conflicting emotions surged within Gaia. She knew Ingram had caused her mother Adelia immense pain, but she couldn't help feeling a strange connection to him as her biological father. The realization that someone wanted him dead stirred a turmoil of thoughts and feelings in her heart. Gaia took a deep breath, trying to steady her emotions. Her gaze met Michael's, and she saw the understanding and compassion in his eyes. He knew how complicated this situation was for her. Gaia was struggling with a mix of emotions. The revelation of Ingram being her father had complicated her feelings towards him. On one hand, she despised him for abandoning her mother, Adelia. Having never known him and only recently discovering their biological connection, there was no love in her heart for Ingram. Yet, he was still her father, and the idea of killing him felt wrong. What did you say? Gaia asked, seeking clarity from Michael. She was unsure of what answer she expected from her husband, but she needed to understand his decision. I said it'll be done, Michael replied calmly. As the Dark Lord, he was accustomed to making tough decisions daily, and this was no exception. What? Why the fuck? Gaia's shock and confusion were evident in her voice. He's Nithril's target, and she wants him dead if we are to remain allies, Michael explained. Gaia's mind raced with questions. She wondered what Ingram had done to provoke such a reaction from Nithril. Did Michael inquire about the reason behind her desire for Ingram's death? She didn't say why, only that it's a condition for her continued support, Michael responded to Gaia's unspoken question. Michael realized that the task of killing Ingram was far more complicated than he initially thought. His plan to ally with Dagon, the ruler of Hell, against the Pantheon added another layer of complexity. Unbeknownst to him, Ingram was a loyal servant of Dagon, and killing him might not be well received by the powerful ruler. On the other hand, refusing to kill Ingram could cost him Nithril's support, which was crucial for his future endeavors. Additionally, Adelia, Gaia's mother, would be devastated if Michael killed her husband, further complicating the situation. As the weight of the situation bore down on him, Michael felt the immense burden of his choices. He knew he needed to find a solution that protected his allies and kept his plan intact. However, the path ahead was filled with uncertainty, and Michael was well aware that each decision he made would have far-reaching consequences. Why the fuck did you agree? Gaia punched Michael in the shoulder and demanded an explanation. I had no choice, Michael replied, feeling the weight of his decision bearing down on him. For fuck's sake, Michael, Gaia moved closer to him and whispered, her frustration evident in her voice. Even if I agree to kill Ingram, I don't think Mother would approve. Despite trying to kill him a couple of times, she still loves him. That's just how women are, Gaia whispered. Her words brought a chuckle to Michael's face, providing a brief moment of relief amidst the seriousness of their conversation. That's how women are. So when do you plan to try to kill me? Michael joked. Don't joke around, idiot. I'm serious, Gaia rolled her eyes, her emotions still running high. Besides, you kinda sealed your fate when you chose to marry me. Realizing the gravity of their situation, Gaia proposed a solution. Then we must fake his death. Let Nithrol believe we killed him, but only tell Mother we didn't. That way, we can satisfy both ends. While it seemed like a great idea, Michael knew it wouldn't be easy to deceive Nithrol, a fallen god and the goddess of hunting. Faking Ingram's death might not be enough to fool her. I don't think we can fool Nithrol. We have to kill him and make it look like an accident, Michael said, his voice serious and resolute. The prospect of killing her own father weighed heavily on Gaia's heart, but she understood the necessity of the situation. As the Dark Lord and his wife, they were faced with difficult decisions that required sacrifice and strategic thinking. I have a feeling Nithrol might not be what she seems, Michael. We need to be careful around her. If we could find Ingram, we might be able to figure out why Nithrol wants him dead, Gaia expressed her concern. Whatever her reason might be, we cannot afford to lose Nithrol as our ally, Michael asserted. Despite Gaia's desire to find a better solution, she knew that Nithrol's aid was crucial for their future plans. While they were contemplating Nithrol's request, Michael called Azazel to him. Azazel, bring Saber and Arya to me, he commanded. Soon, Saber and Arya appeared before the Dark Lord and the Dark Queen, bowing respectfully. Azazel stood behind Michael, ready to assist as needed. Saber, Arya, I want the two of you to work together and find this man, Michael handed the parchment to Saber. When Saber opened it and saw the portrait of Ingram, he was taken aback, just like Gaia had been. My lord, this is Ingram, Saber acknowledged. Only Gaia, Azazel, and a select few knew that Ingram was Gaia's father. I want you to find him and inform me as soon as you locate him. Do not approach him, and if he finds you, immediately back off. You are not to engage him under any circumstances, Michael instructed firmly. Saber and Arya nodded, understanding the seriousness of their task. Once they received their orders and disappeared to carry them out, Lenora and Trista approached Michael and Gaia. Both of them knelt before the Dark Lord, showing their respect and gratitude. Lenora couldn't believe that the Dark Lord had brought her back from the brink of death, constructing her a new body. Being an elder vampire, she knew the odds were against her, but Michael's power and determination had defied those odds. Trista, too, was filled with gratitude towards Michael, knowing that he had fulfilled his promise to her by rebuilding Lenora's body. I have eternal gratitude for you, my lord, Lenora expressed her heartfelt thanks. Her new body, skillfully crafted by the Phoenix Project, had strengthened her vampiric abilities to new heights, making her a formidable force. Michael turned his attention to the next task at hand. I have a new mission for both of you. Since the Skyhall execution team has eliminated our allies, we have lost control of the southern continent, including Tiberius Freedom Land. It's time we reclaim our authority over the region. Your job is to work with Sadie, recruit new members, and discreetly re-establish our control. If necessary, you may employ the Death Squad to eliminate the Skyhall execution team but ensure their deaths appear to be accidents. We don't want the Sky Hall suspecting our involvement behind the scenes, Michael instructed, entrusting Trista and Lenora with the responsibility of regaining control over the southern continent. Consider it done, my lord. When you next venture into the southern continent, our subordinates will be the ones ruling and governing the land, Lenora vowed, determination evident in her words. So, what's the plan now? Gaia asked, looking at Michael after everyone had left. I have one more thing I must do before heading to the realm of gods, Michael replied, cracking his knuckles. Inside his mind, memories of his intense battle with Evan resurfaced. It's time for me to become a demigod and deal with Evan once and for all. Khaleesi has shown her power, but now she'll experience what it means to be on the world's #1 hitman's list, Michael declared with a mix of snickering and confidence, knowing that he was renowned as the most skilled and deadly assassin. Let me kill that bitch, Gaia growled with anger, her eyes blazing. When you find her, you're free to take her out. But finding her won't be easy, Michael replied, acknowledging the challenge of tracking down Khaleesi, who had managed to evade them until now. After gathering the dark seeds, Michael had everything he needed to step into the second level of godhood, the demigod level. He had already chosen a secluded and powerful location where he would trigger the heavenly tribulation to ascend to the next stage of his divine power. Once he became a demigod, Michael knew he would possess enough power to confront Evan without any fear. Even though Evan had been turned into a god by Sales's contraption, he would no longer be a threat to Michael, the god of darkness. Michael's newfound power would ensure that Evan's abilities were nothing compared to his own. However, Michael was not interested in a direct confrontation with Evan. Instead, he wanted to take him out in an old-school-style assassination, leaving no trace of his involvement. Michael was a master of stealth and deception, and he relished the idea of taking down Evan from the shadows. Unaware that the Dark Lord had survived and orchestrated his own death as a ruse, Evan spent his days in bliss with his fiancée, Victoria, completely oblivious to the impending danger that loomed over him. Little did he suspect that Michael had singled him out as the next target before embarking on his journey into the realm of gods. This is the end of the battle between the gods arc. From the next chapter, the realm of gods arc will begin.